In my past life, when my childhood friend got drenched in concentrated sulfuric acid, I immediately dragged him to the nearest restroom to rinse it off without hesitation, but he called me a pervert, accusing me of trying to take advantage of the situation to tie him down. Later, he hooked up with my cousin, and they got married, becoming the talk of the town as a perfect couple. Yet just 7 days after their wedding, they dragged me to an abandoned factory, poured concentrated sulfuric acid all over my body, and left me to scream in agony as my flesh melted away. In my dying moments, I saw childhood sweetheart's face twisted with malice. Finally rid of you, being with you made me sick to my stomach every single second. When I reincarnated to the day he got drenched in sulfuric acid, I immediately kept my distance. Sis, what should we do? Hurry and take Yufeng to the restroom on this floor to rinse off. Any delay could be fatal. The familiar voice rang in my ears, yet I stood frozen in place, staring blankly at my untouched clothes and unharmed hands. In our past life, Shen Yufeng insisted on following me to the company lab, only to carelessly knock over a shelf and get drenched in concentrated sulfuric acid. Without hesitation, I dragged him to the nearest women's restroom for emergency rinsing, but after the danger passed, he called me a pervert. Furious, I shouted that I was just trying to save him. To my shock, he accused me of being delusional and clingy, claiming I'd jumped at the chance to undress him over minor splashes, just to force a connection between us. He even had my cousin Lin Yun film a video in advance, making my obsessed stalker persona go viral online. Shen Yufeng declared that men should also bravely stand up against sexual harassment. Lin Yun also came forward to testify for Shen Yufeng, claiming I'd frequently peeped at him showering and even offered myself to him. She said she'd warned me countless times to no avail, forcing her to publicly expose my behavior. I became universally despised as a pervert, while Shen Yufeng and Lin Yun seized the moment to get together, becoming an internet-famous couple. Using this as justification, my mother kicked me out of the house and let Lin Yun inherit my father's estate. Shen Yufeng and Lin Yun still wouldn't let me go. 7 days after their wedding, they tied me up in an abandoned factory and drenched my entire body with concentrated sulfuric acid. Did I just reincarnate? They watched indifferently as I writhed and screamed on the ground, my flesh rotting away until death took me. In my final moments, I saw Shen Yufeng's twisted face sneering, "Finally rid of you. Every second with you made me sick to my stomach, but whatever, at least I achieved my goal. All that humiliation was worth it in the end." That's when I realized he'd been conspiring with Lin Yun all along. Everything he did was just to help her seize the Su family's fortune. Coming to my senses, I turned to see Shen Yufeng, his face deathly pale and drenched in sulfuric acid. He'd dodged at the last second, avoiding having the acid poured over his head and face. Though it was early spring and everyone was still bundled up against the cold, the acid would soon eat through his clothes and burn his skin. Normally in such situations, you'd need to strip immediately and rinse your entire body, even if it meant undressing in public. You'd have to do it to save your life, assuming there was a faucet nearby for emergency washing. Yet Shen Yufeng just stood there, frantically winking at Lin Yun. Lin Yun kept anxiously urging me to drag Shen Yufeng along. The men's restroom on this floor was under renovation, so guys had to use the facilities either upstairs or downstairs during this period. I slapped her across the face and yelled, "Are you trying to get me killed, dragging a guy into the women's restroom? What if people think I'm some kind of pervert?" Lin Yun covered her face, staring at me in disbelief, clearly shocked that I dare to contradict her and even resort to violence. She gritted her teeth, "But you and Yufeng grew up together, you're even engaged. What does that matter now? Go already, this is life or death." Shen Yufeng stubbornly insisted, "No way. I'm a grown man, I can't just waltz into the women's restroom. I'll use the men's room upstairs." His words said one thing, but his eyes burned into me, silently begging for me to argue back and drag him into that lady's room. In my past life, that despicable couple knew damn well I couldn't just stand by and watch Shen Yufeng die, so they played this twisted game together, and I fell right into their trap, getting framed as that notorious psycho stalker girl across the entire internet. I screamed myself hoarse trying to explain I was just saving a life. But nobody bought it, not this time around. I won't be that stupid again. Seeing my continued silence, Shen Yufeng's eyes filled with panic as his body began trembling. He was terrified. If this went south, he'd either end up dead or permanently disabled. But my reputation as his devoted follower preceded me. With a shaky voice, Shen Yufeng still put on airs. "Su Ningxing, stay out of this. If you mess up and ruin my reputation, forget about ever setting foot in my family's house. He emphasized that last threat, implying I'd better save him if I wanted entry to his household. I gave a slight smile and pretended to be anxious. All right, go rinse it off quickly, or it'll be too late. Seeing that I didn't understand the hidden meaning, his face instantly turned ashen. Shin Yufeng was lucky. His parents arrived just in time and immediately dragged him to the restroom to rinse off. That's how he barely managed to save his life, but it was too late. Shin Yufeng's skin had already been corroded by the sulfuric acid. By the time he reached the hospital, large areas of black and white spots, as well as extensive blistering, had appeared on his skin. The doctor said the wound could lead to secondary infection, and even after healing, permanent scars would remain. Mrs. Shin let out a shriek upon hearing this, then slapped me across the face while clawing at my hair and clothes. She even ripped off my emerald brooch and hurled it to the ground, shattering it. This is all your fault, you wretched woman. If you hadn't dragged your feet, Yufeng wouldn't have ended up like this. Lin Yun added fuel to the fire. Auntie, please calm down. I did advise cousin that as Yufeng's fiancé, she shouldn't stand on ceremony about such things. But, sigh, if only I were Yufeng. She fell silent, but Mrs. Shin grew even more furious, grabbing at me and scratching with her nails. I didn't hold back either, shoved her to the ground and asked the nurse who came to check on the commotion to call the police. Mr. Shin's face darkened. Ningxing, you and Yufeng grew up together. How can you be so heartless? I scoffed. The Shen and Su corporations were once equals, but Mr. Shin's mediocre leadership had long dimmed their former glory, nothing compared to Su Corporation's current dominance under my management. I used to grovel way too much around Shin Yufeng, bending over backwards for his whole family and funneling countless projects and funds to the Shin Group. It gave them this warped idea that they could actually look down on me. You'd better have a damn good explanation for today. Old man Shin glared at me icily. But before Yufeng wakes up, you'll kneel by his bedside begging forgiveness. His wife chimed in. Damn right. Forget about setting foot in our family unless you do. I sneered at them. Relax, I couldn't care less about your precious family or your gold-digging son. By the way, Mrs. Gao, you broke my brooch. Pay up. Don't even try denying it. The surveillance cameras caught everything. Just then the police arrived. After I stated my demands, old man Shin glared at me incredulously. You actually dare demand compensation? Aren't you afraid Yufeng will dump you? I scoffed. Didn't catch that the first time. Let me repeat, I have zero interest in your freeloader of a son. Mr. Shin's face turned ashen then flushed crimson. He scribbled a check and flung it at me, snarling, here's for your coffin. I glanced at it. Just a measly $1,000. Sighing, I pulled up the certification photos on my phone to show the cops, proving the brooch was worth 7 figures. Mr. Shin went ghostly pale, but with the evidence staring him down, he could only grumble curses while processing the mobile transfer. Just then, the doctor came out and announced Shin Yufeng had regained consciousness. Old Mr. Shin scoffed. Let's see if Miss Su keeps up her tough act in front of Yufeng. I certainly wasn't sticking around. I headed straight home, and on the way, made calls to terminate all concessions and projects with the Shin family. The Shins remained unfazed, probably thinking I was just bluffing. They called back with icy indifference, saying Yufeng wanted to speak with me, then hung up before I could respond. They probably assumed I'd definitely show up. Honestly curious to see the spectacle, I went along with my bodyguards. At the hospital, I saw Shin Yufeng completely wrapped in bandages. When he spotted me, pure hatred flashed in his eyes as he snarled through gritted teeth. Happy now that I'm like this. This is all your fault, you bitch. In a fit of rage, he grabbed a vase and hurled it at me, but my bodyguard intercepted it. The vase shattered on the floor with a crash, while he let out a pained scream as the movement aggravated his injury. In my past life, I would have groveled for forgiveness and waited on him hand and foot, but having died once already, I've finally come to my senses. You brought this on yourself. What's there for me to be satisfied about? Seems you've got nothing to say to me, so I'm leaving. Shin Yufeng calmed down slightly but still sneered. You just want to see me beg. Save your breath. No matter what schemes you pull, I'll never like you. I burst out laughing. I've got money, looks, and plenty of admirers. Why would I need affection from a mummy? At this point, aside from his height, he might as well be a mummy. Shin Yufeng flew into a rage, then narrowed his eyes and sneered, playing hard to get. Are we? This little reverse psychology act is just your way of making me cave first. Fine, but you'll have to agree to one condition. I rolled my eyes after hearing his demand. Turns out he couldn't stand his skin condition and wanted grafts, but refused synthetic options and couldn't be bothered finding willing donors. So you get it now. If you want to marry me, you'll have to prove your sincerity. Shin Yufeng brimmed with confidence. Mrs. Shin scoffed. Why waste words? She should be kneeling in gratitude that her skin can atone for her sins by being transplanted to you, too. She turned with condescension. Forget going to your family's company tomorrow. My husband and I will take over. Just focus on resting for the skin graft. Remember, only fruits and vegetables before surgery to keep your skin suitable. Oh, and don't think this guarantees you'll marry Yufeng. This is about making amends, about redemption. I've truly seen it all. Never encountered someone so shameless in my life. Mrs. Shin even threatened me. We're giving you this opportunity. You'd better take it. I laughed. No thanks. I don't need this opportunity. Goodbye. The Shin's faces twisted in rage. They started hurling insults and nearly lunged at me, but my bodyguards made them watch helplessly as I walked away, though I'd made my stance clear. Mr. and Mrs. Shin dismissed it as mere posturing, still convinced I was putting on airs. When the Shin group rapidly deteriorated after I withdrew support, they stormed into my office, deliberately smashed an exorbitantly priced vase, kicked over a luxury leather chair, then glared at me with imperious contempt. Yufeng blames himself day and night for your suppression of our family business. He's now refusing all medical treatment, convinced he's brought this ruin upon us. If you care about his well-being at all, you'll resume funding the Shin group immediately and let us handpick your most profitable projects. I immediately summoned my secretary. Old Mr. Shin mistook my compliance for surrender, his face lighting up with satisfaction. That's more like it. While you're at it, have your secretary draft a contract to transfer half your shares to Yufeng, then we might consider giving you another chance. Ignoring him, I turned to my secretary. Let it slide this time, but if anyone barges in like this again, you'll collect your final paycheck from accounting, and make sure to file a police report for the damages they caused. The secretary panicked and immediately called security to escort the elderly couple out. They struggled and hurled insults, but ultimately fearing I'd call the police, they grudgingly compensated for the office property they damaged. My account balance grew by nearly 6 figures. As I left work, I spotted Shin Yufeng in a wheelchair at the building entrance, already drawing a crowd of onlookers. Shin Yufeng struggled to his feet when he saw me, dragging his ailing body step by step until he suddenly dropped to his knees before me. Ningxing, I beg you to let me go. I'll overlook you throwing acid on me and stopping me from getting help, but please spare my parents' struggling business. The Shin Corporation supports countless employees and their families. Don't wipe us out completely. His eyes bloodshot, he began kowtowing to me. His performance successfully won the crowd's sympathy. People were glaring at me with contempt and disgust, even pulling out their phones to record me. I quickly stepped aside, but just as I was about to speak, Shin Yufeng cut me off. I know what you're thinking. Just promise to stop targeting Shin Corporation, and I'll marry you. I nearly vomited on the spot. Mrs. Shin suddenly threw herself at her son, sobbing. We don't need her pity. Let the company go bankrupt. Your father and I can find new jobs. It doesn't matter. I was utterly speechless watching this mother-son duo's pathetic acting. The show's over. Get lost before you delay my employees from clocking out. Yet many bystanders fell for their act. Combined with my frosty demeanor, it ignited the crowd's righteous indignation. How could any woman be this heartless? No wonder that guy didn't want to be with her before. What's the point of being rich and pretty? She's absolute trash. Turns out she's the Su family's heiress and next chairperson too. With someone like her running Su Corporation, I'd say they're doomed. Listening to the crowd's gossip, Shin Yufeng's eyes flashed with smugness before giving me an even more pitiful look. Ningxing, tell me, what will it take for you to leave my family alone? I'm begging you. He put on a pained expression while pretending to ignore Mrs. Shin's tearful protests as he tried to kowtow to me. The murmurs among the crowd grew louder. Finally someone snapped and yelled at me. You heartless woman. She was a feisty-looking woman in her 50s. She pointed at my face, just about to unleash a torrent of abuse. Seeing the provocative glint in Shin Yufeng's eyes, I curled my lips slightly. My phone rang at that moment. As I reached to answer, the crowd grew more agitated. That unscrupulous capitalist is definitely calling for backup. Don't let her get away with it. Feigning panic, I answered on speakerphone. A booming voice immediately blared. Ningxing. My secretary briefed me. But don't blame me for not helping. With Shin Corp's history of cutting corners, their products consistently exceed strict regulatory limits. I simply can't risk getting involved. Save your breath. Don't bother looking for others. The outcome would likely be the same. Let's drop it. I've got work to do. Talk later. Passing off shoddy goods, severely exceeding standards. What exactly is over the limit? I think the Shin Group has a division handling food and health supplements. The three members of the Shin family immediately looked flustered. The middle-aged woman recoiled too, hesitating before asking, "So, did you really throw sulfuric acid at him?" I pulled up my phone again and said, "Auntie, I've got the surveillance footage from that day saved here. He was the one who moved suddenly and got splashed, then refused to rinse it off immediately in the restroom." 3. Shin Yufeng suddenly mustered tremendous strength and knocked my phone to the ground, the screen instantly going black. "That's a dead giveaway." Under the crowd's hostile gazes, Shin Yufeng's parents hastily wheeled him away in humiliated retreat. Of course, Shin Yufeng still shot me a venomous glare before leaving. They didn't stop attacking me. Instead, they twisted the story with embellishments and posted it online. They also included pre-recorded videos, heavily edited of course. History repeated itself. But this time I was cast as the villain, the childhood friend who coldly abandoned him when he was critically injured, even seizing his family's assets. Lin Yun seized the moment to publicly declare her undying love for Shin Yufeng, vowing to care for him forever in my place. Just like last time, I was blindsided and branded as a scheming, shameless bitch without any warning. My doorstep was vandalized with paint, animal carcasses were delivered to my home. Every social media platform flooded with hateful DMs. And my phone rang nonstop with obscene calls the moment I accidentally answered. Frantically, I begged Shin Yufeng to clear my name, but he just held Lin Yun and sneered, "You fool, why would I waste my money on hired trolls just to retract?" I lunged at them in rage, but their bodyguards blocked me before I could get close. When I tried to leave, they claimed I'd ruined their mood and ordered the bodyguards to beat me, forcing me to kowtow 10 times before letting me go. But this life won't be so smooth sailing. They'll reap what their stupidity has sown. Mother was deeply displeased with the trouble I've caused recently. She snapped at me. "The Su family business was built from scratch by your father. I'm getting too old to handle everything now, but if you can't be a proper successor, you'd better step aside." To whom? Her precious niece Lin Yun. She's always favored Lin Yun over me since childhood. When Dad was alive, she at least pretended to be fair. Now she's not even bothering with the act. For years, she's been looking for any excuse to remove me as the heir. Lin Yun couldn't hide her delight upon hearing this. I replied calmly, "Understood, I'll handle it promptly." The situation took an unexpected turn sooner than anticipated. The Shin family trio were so foolishly fixated on publicly shaming me that they'd forgotten multiple bystanders had recorded the incident. When eyewitness videos contradicting their narrative surfaced online, events spiraled catastrophically beyond their control. I then dumped all the evidence, chat logs with Shin Yufeng, transfer records, and even the lab surveillance footage from that day, straight to several prearranged influencer accounts. The rumor about me embezzling the Shin family's assets collapsed instantly after I released years of financial aid records from the Su family to them. The documents clearly showed the Shin family was beyond saving. They'd have gone bankrupt long ago without my financial support. Public opinion immediately turned against all three Shin family members, with netizens now calling for their heads. Shin Yufeng was still making desperate excuses online. We were indeed in the wrong, and getting splashed with acid was my own damn fault, but we grew up together. How could you watch me drenched in acid without even wanting to help? Looks like his brain got pickled in acid too. Before I could even counter, someone had already clipped his infamous "real men don't enter women's restrooms" rant from the surveillance footage and turned it into a viral meme video, tagging him, of course, naturally. The clip also showed Lin Yun egging me on to drag Shin Yufeng away while staying completely still herself. The comments section erupted in laughter, with some even trolling her account. "What's this big man doing blaming Miss Su for not saving him now? Honestly, if you'd stuck to your principles, I'd have respected you as a real man despite regretting it, but seeing you like this, you and that girlfriend of yours, one's a spineless coward, the other's a fake innocent, a match made in heaven, may you live happily ever after." Shin Yufeng immediately messaged me, his voice seething with rage, "You set this trap for me all along, you bitch. You think coming back reborn means you can beat me? Dream on, you couldn't take me down in your past life, and this lifetime won't be any different." So Shin Yufeng had also been reborn. I didn't respond, just put down my phone and watched with dark amusement as the online insults poured in. Naturally, they didn't spare me the same harassment I'd endured in my previous life. The Shen and Lin families kept changing addresses to escape harassment, yet someone always managed to track them down, mailing animal carcasses and splashing paint on their doorsteps. Unable to endure the online abuse, Shen Yufeng had long deleted his account. Even in such dire straits, he still found time to taunt me. Don't get cocky, Yun Yun and I will grind you into the dirt someday. I'll make you kneel and lick my shoes. He took over the Shen conglomerate and began opposing the Su family. Within just 2 months, Su Group lost significant business to him. He poached clients and even undercut us by a mere 1,000 yuan on a major project bid. Clearly, there's a mole in the company. Their fleeting victory went to Shen Yufeng and Lin Yun's heads. They even came to my office to gloat. Told you you're no match for me. Grovel and lick my shoes now. And I might throw you scraps after Su Group goes bankrupt. For Yun's sake. I'm stunned by how bizarre this person's thought process is. Lin Yun gloated maliciously. Cousin, women still need to rely on men. Tell you what, after the Su family goes bankrupt, I'll introduce you to one of Brother Yufeng's subordinates. Sure, he's in his 50s with several kids, but he's affectionate. You'd be happy married to him. I smiled faintly. No need, this candidate clearly suits you better. Keep him for yourself. A flicker of humiliation crossed Lin Yun's face before she spat venomously. Don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Serving an old man beats begging in the streets. 4. Shen Yufeng sneered. Yun Yun, don't waste your breath on her. She's all talk now, but she'll be crying soon enough. After flaunting their superiority to their heart's content, the pair strutted out of the company with their noses in the air, though Shen Yufeng's movements seemed slightly stiff, and a faint yellowish fluid could be seen seeping from his collar. Rumor has it he's been scouring for renowned dermatologists to treat his skin condition, but judging by the worsening state of his wounds, one wonders what quacks he's been consulting. My mother was very unhappy with the recent company fluctuations and once again told me to give the general manager position and all my shares to Lin Yun. After all, Yun Yun is my niece, she's family. It's better for her to manage Su's than some outsider's company. This is also to ensure your father's hard work isn't wasted. I looked at her with pity. There's one thing I've always wanted to know, is she my cousin, or my biological sister? Do uncle and auntie, wherever they are, know they have an extra daughter? My mother's expression changed. What did you just say? How dare you insult me like this? I'm your mother. I shook my head and sighed, handing her all the evidence I'd gathered during this time. As a child, I always felt hurt and confused by my mother's favoritism. Why did she always make me give my things to Lin Yun? Why did she only ever coddle Lin Yun with such tenderness? After death, I finally learned the truth. Lin Yun was actually my mother's loved child with her first love. Even after learning about my brutal murder at the hands of Shen Yufeng and Lin Yun, she merely fell silent briefly before telling them to cover their tracks thoroughly. My mother tore the paternity test to shreds in rage. So what? I'm your biological mother, you'll do as I say. I stared at her coldly. If you weren't my birth mother, do you really think I'd waste my breath on you? My mother lunged at me to strike, but my bodyguards restrained her. Finally realizing I was dead serious, she quavered, Su Ningxing, what do you think you're doing? Gazing out the window, I replied calmly, nothing much. Just ensuring you can enjoy your golden years undisturbed by worldly affairs. I arranged for her relocation to a secluded sanatorium nestled in picturesque mountains. There she'd want for nothing materially, yet remain permanently disconnected from the outside world. After handling all this, I began closing the net. That's right, the mole was my own mother. Her plan was simple: either snatch the Su family's resources meant for Lin Yun from me, or secretly use our own assets to pave Lin Yun's way. When I discovered the truth, I quietly started setting my trap. Those toxic lovers only snatched away businesses that were already doomed. The fallout came swiftly, the stolen ventures imploded one after another, the poached employees kept causing chaos, and that project where my mother leaked the bid price, now suspended due to policy changes. Shen Yufeng poured Shen Group's last reserves into this mess. Combined with their overextended operations, there was no coming back from this collapse. Under the joint efforts of Shen Yufeng and Lin Yun, the Shen family business went from barely surviving to rapid bankruptcy. They pleaded for help everywhere with Shen's parents, but business peers who knew their family's temperament and capabilities all kept their distance. No one would give them the time of day. When Shen's parents came begging for my help, I naturally refused to even meet them. Yet one day after work, I still found their hunched figures waiting at my company. They begged me to visit Shin Yufeng at the hospital for one last goodbye. Right now I'm fully occupied expanding the Su family's empire. Kicking a man when he's down holds little appeal anymore, yet remembering everything Shin Yufeng did to me in our past life, I couldn't suppress my hatred. That's why I had to witness his death with my own eyes. Inside the hospital room, I saw Shin Yufeng lying on the bed with barely a flicker of life left. His wound was now oozing yellowish fluid with traces of blood seeping through. Seeing me approach, Shin Yufeng's eyes flashed with resentment. "Didn't you love me most? Why didn't you save me back then?" I shrugged. "You're a grown man, you don't go into women's restrooms, and I can't exactly be a creep either." "Makes sense, right?" He struggled to speak. "But you said you loved me, shouldn't you treat me well no matter how I treat you? If you retaliate when I'm unkind, what kind of love is that?" I sneered. Right. I don't love you, Lin Yun does." "Wait, where is she?" His eyes grew even wilder. "Don't mention that bitch. After I went bankrupt and drowned in debt, she ran off with some rich old man, that shameless, heartless whore." Soon, he calmed down and looked at me. "Actually, I asked you here today because I have a secret to tell you. Come closer, and I'll whisper it." Watching the eerie glint in his eyes and his hand reaching toward the nightstand cluttered with mysterious bottles, I took 2 steps back toward the door instead. "No thanks, I'm not interested. I only came to see your pathetic downfall, and now that I have, I'm leaving." When he realized I wasn't falling for it, he flew into another rage. "Why are you running? Don't you dare. How dare you be happy when I'm suffering like this?" Su Ningxing. "You should spend your whole life groveling at my feet, even in death. You should follow me to the grave." He grabbed the glass bottle and hurled it at me. I stepped back quickly, but my bodyguard was faster. He kicked the bottle right back at him. The liquid splashed all over his face. Shin Yufeng let out a blood-curdling scream, clutching his face as he collapsed onto the bed, writhing in agony. His parents rushed over at the commotion, bypassing any chance to scold me as they immediately fussed over their precious son. I felt absolutely nothing. Merely reflecting how Shin Yufeng at least used to have an intact face. Now he didn't even have that, already on death's door. The sulfuric acid burns proved too much. Shin Yufeng drew his last breath before the hospital could even attempt treatment. After that, Shin's parents vanished without a trace. Fearing retaliation, I doubled down on security, round-the-clock bodyguards, even assigning 2 female guards to live with me. But instead of coming after me, I heard they'd rammed Lin Yun with their car. Rumor has it Lin Yun survived the initial hit, only for them to deliberately run her over repeatedly. Her head was left in a ghastly state, and her face was so disfigured it became unrecognizable. After finishing the deed, they drove straight into the nearby river before anyone could call the police. When they were finally fished out, both bodies were bloated beyond recognition. Seeing my enemies get their just desserts, I finally felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Thank God for giving me a second chance. From now on, I'll live with hope and cherish every day of this new life. Story 2. I married my childhood sweetheart with a limp. Before the wedding, he vowed to repay my kindness. The limp came from saving his life. After marriage, he resented me for forcing the union, believing I'd torn him from his true love. His hatred ran so deep he swore he'd rather be the cripple than wed to me. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the moment before his car crash. This time, I didn't save him. Let him remain that cripple. Jiangxia, the golden boy everyone in the compound admired, became a lame man. The shocking news spread like wildfire throughout the entire building. Mom grabbed my arm. "What on earth is going on? You and Jiangxia have been close since childhood. Should we visit him at the hospital?" It happened on Mid-Autumn Festival. The Lin and Jiang families were having their customary reunion dinner. Though Mom missed it due to last-minute overtime, while waiting for their food, Jiangxia's mother scrolled through short videos with a beaming smile. Suddenly, her smile froze on her face. A short video titled "Someone Else's Admirer" had garnered over 100,000 likes. In the clip, a boy clutched a massive bouquet of roses with an awkward expression. The 3 large boxes behind him were all filled with gift packages. The girl in the white dress played hard to get, her eyes crinkling into crescent moons. Uncle Jiang was furious when he recognized the male lead in the video as his own son. "You've grown too big for your boots, never listening to a word we say. I told you this girl is trouble. Her mother's been with over a dozen men, doesn't even know who the girl's real father is." Jiangxia clenched his phone, shooting me a disapproving look. I smiled without responding. "Lin Yin, I know there's some misunderstanding between you and Qianqian. No matter what, you shouldn't have said those things in front of our parents. After knowing you for nearly 18 years, I never realized you could be this jealous. He assumed all our parents' resentment towards Su Qian stemmed from me badmouthing her behind their backs. Uncle Jiang was furious. What's gotten into you? You always used to stand up for A Yen. It's that Su girl who's been acting improperly. Jiang just stood up abruptly. The sound of his palm slamming the table startling nearby diners. Qian is nothing like her mother. With that, he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I was too busy texting Su Qian while crossing the road and didn't see the oncoming car. Ended up getting my legs shattered. This time, he'd have to face that gravel-loaded truck alone. In my past life, I ran out after him when I spotted the approaching vehicle. I pulled him to safety but couldn't dodge it myself, left me with a permanent limp. Later, the Jiang family insisted he marry me. I declined, but Jiangja insisted that saving his life was a debt requiring a lifetime to repay. When I asked about Su Qian, he said we were never meant to be, doomed from the start. In that moment, I thought the boy I once knew had returned, only to face decades of icy cruelty instead. Turns out he thought that car accident was my self-inflicted scheme. He plans to use marriage as his gilded cage to punish me, the one who tore him apart from his true love. When he learned I'd had a crush on him since childhood, he actually gagged in disgust. Lin Yen, you're downright manipulative. Your so-called affection makes me sick. Even in his final moments, he was begging me, if I could do it over, I'd rather be crippled than ever lay eyes on you again. So when I was reborn, I granted his wish. I sat quietly in the diner and watched that car plow into him. Mom was right all along. We truly knew each other best back then. I vaguely remember it was during kindergarten, when I still lived in the compound. Where there are people, there's hierarchy. Kids are no exception. Those who are articulate and physically strong are natural-born leaders among children, born quiet and reserved. I was doomed to be at the bottom of the food chain. Nobody included me in their games. But I was always the first scapegoat when trouble arose. My pretty new hairbow got borrowed by an older girl the very first day I wore it out. That borrowing lasted over 3 years. Things got slightly better after Jiangja moved in. He couldn't speak Mandarin properly, always mixing up 4 and 10, South and Orchid. He'd get laughed at the moment he opened his mouth. That day Jiangja did exceptionally well in kindergarten and earned 3 little red flowers. He sat obediently on the doorstep waiting for his parents, while the chubby kid next door eyed him with disdain. Country bumpkin, repeat after me. 4 is 4, 10 is 10, 40 is 40. Jiangja stumbled over the words, blurting out, FFF4. This sent everyone around into fits of laughter. Little Fatty snatched his red flower badge, and when the boy tried to grab it back, he got kicked flat on his back. Another round of laughter erupted. Somehow, it felt like I was looking at myself. They used to treat me the same way, mocking me as the little mute. I remembered what Dad once told me, Ayen, you must be a brave child, so I grabbed the mop handle from the floor and swung at Little Fatty. After a stunned moment, Little Fatty wrestled with me in a tussle. Jiangja and the other kids jumped into the fight. The odds were stacked against us from the start, 2 against 8, both Jiangja and I came away bruised, but it worked out in the end. The other kids actually started treating us better once they realized we'd fight back. After that, Jiangja would often tell me, Ayan, you know what, you were like a hero descending from heaven back then. To thank his little hero, he'd save up his pocket money to buy me dolls. When playing house, he'd stubbornly insist we pretend to be husband and wife, would take over my cleaning duties during school sanitation drives, stayed up late studying with me and compiled my mistake notebook, got into fights when rude guys called acne-ridden faces ugly, just like that. From kindergarten through high school, we were never apart. They even got admitted to the same college within the same university. During military training, the instructor played Pass the Parcel, and it stopped when it reached Jiangja. According to the rules, he had to go up and sing. Jiangja flushed crimson, refusing to step forward. He's like Conan from the comics, handsome, athletic, brilliant in studies with sky-high IQ, but when he sings, it's pure auditory torture. Perhaps recalling childhood embarrassment of being mocked for not speaking Mandarin, he refuses to start college by becoming the campus laughingstock. He hesitated and refused to step onto the stage. The instructor grew impatient. Will someone sing for him? I will. A clear female voice rang out, instantly capturing everyone's attention. 2. Under the relentless sun, the freshmen''s faces were all slightly tanned and sunburnt. Yet Su Qian seemed blessed by the goddess Nuwa herself. her skin remaining fair and delicate. Her radiant smile lit up the stage as her rendition of A Little Love Song brought thunderous applause. The melody lingered in her classmates' ears, and quite a few boys' hearts. Even before the semester officially began, she had already gained a reputation as the campus sweetheart. Jiangja embarrassed himself that day, constantly mixing up his marching steps until the drill instructor was fuming. I admit I was a bit slow on the uptake and failed to notice his discomfort. At the hometown reunion, he got drunk. It wasn't until I was cleaning up his vomit that the pieces finally clicked. Su Qian, Su Qian, Su Qian, you know what? That day you were like a hero descended from heaven. I clutched the towel in my hands, feeling utterly at a loss. A hero, really? Then what am I? Perhaps Su Qian truly was Jiangja's hero. She changed his life. He still bought 2 breakfasts, took double notes, and preheated the hand warmers. But these things used to be done for me. Now they're all for Su Qian. She's done plenty for him too, covering for him when he skipped class, ordering his drinks at the club, even handing him a lighter when he was learning to smoke. I was busy joining all sorts of campus clubs with my roommates. When I saw Jiangja again, he had dark circles under his eyes, having just returned from the bar. If you keep this up, your parents won't be happy. Jiangja's parents had high expectations for him, so I gave it to him straight. Lin Yan, you're really boring. How can someone in their 20s live like an old granny? Youth is meant to be wild, you get that? Hearing him say that, the boy before me suddenly felt like a stranger. I remember when he accompanied me to that coming-of-age drama, he scoffed at every cliché moment. Who says youth is all about clubbing, abortions and breakups? Our youth means studying to solve our nation's toughest technological challenges. Though the words sounded naive and somewhat imitative of Premier Zhou's style, but back then, his eyes shone with aspiration, his voice brimming with heroic passion. I took it seriously. I despise monotonous routines, yet equally detest watching those around me spiral downward, clueless about how to handle Jiangja's transformation. I strolled across campus with my best friend Song Xiaoxiao. The university feels vast, yet paradoxically small. We accidentally overheard Su Qian chatting with her friend. Su Qian's mother never held a proper job, drifting between different men her entire life. Growing up in that environment, she naturally picked up some people-reading skills. As an art specialty student, her major had bleak career prospects. She knew all too well that to land someone above her social class, campus was the only hunting ground. Once out in society, matching social status would become non-negotiable, so she set her sights on our faculty. Jiangja wasn't the most affluent among the freshmen, not exactly the shyest or easiest to manipulate, but among the well-off classmates, he was the most pliable, so Su Qian had her sights set on him early. A sweet kiss and a few flirtatious glances were all it took to win over the drumming instructor. She truly is a hero, the kind who digs a pit on your destined path, only to rescue you after you've fallen in. I opened WeChat and typed out a long message for Jiangja's mother, but after some thought, I ended up deleting it. No matter how much I explained, Jiangja remained convinced that his parents' dislike for Su Qian stemmed from me badmouthing her behind their backs. The truth was, it all came down to how terrifying big data algorithms can be. Jiangja's mother came across a local Douyin video where a woman was tearfully denouncing the other woman who wrecked her marriage. The scorned wife had doxed the alleged mistress, even posting her family photos online. That homewrecker happened to be Su Qian's mother. Perhaps all middle-aged women harbor an instinctive loathing for mistresses, who'd willingly let others reap what they've toiled half their life to sow, but Jiangja refused to believe it. Such coincidence seemed impossible. At first he said, "Come on Lin Yan, I'd actually respect you if you had the guts to own up to your actions." Later he said, "So what if it is? If Qian wove this love trap for me, I'll gladly fall right in." Fine then, let's keep sinking deeper. There are things even mom doesn't know. She mentioned Jiangja had been hospitalized for 3 days after an appendectomy, and I cried my heart out every day worrying about him. How could I possibly not visit him now? I nodded, and mom made a pot of chicken soup that Jiangja loves for me to bring, before even entering the ward. I saw Jiangja's mother sighing heavily in the hallway. When she saw me, guilt and remorse flickered in her eyes. "Ian, I truly don't understand how he became like this." She then turned away to wipe her tears. Through the door crack, I saw sunlight bathing Jiangja's face, his eyes glistening. Pushing the door open, I saw Su Qian blushing shyly while peeling an apple. When she noticed my arrival, she set the apple aside and took Jiangja's hand. "Lin Yan, I've decided to be with Jiangja. We're getting engaged on graduation day." I can't decide whether to call this progress too fast or too slow. After military training, Jiangxia started orbiting Suqian like a satellite, yet throughout these nearly 4 years, Suqian never gave a nod of approval, nor did she ever outright refuse. She simply said her unusual family background made her inherently insecure. And she needed more time to test Jiangxia's commitment. That's why Jiangxia blocked me on WeChat for a while. I knew Suqian was just biding her time, waiting until he'd invested enough sunk costs, waiting for the perfect opportunity. Now she's finally gotten her wish. Jiangxia proudly held Suqian's hand and said to his parents, "Dad, Mom, you know what they say, adversity reveals true love. Now that I'm crippled, Qianqian hasn't abandoned me. Do you still doubt her character?" Jiangxia's father wanted to say more, but his mother couldn't bear seeing their son lying in the hospital bed, so she reluctantly gave in. Suqian asked me, "Lin Yin, you'll give us your blessing, won't you?" I nodded, wishing you a lifetime of happiness and love. With that, I left the hospital carrying the thermos of chicken soup. Near the hospital stood an abandoned warehouse where a lost Samoyed had just given birth to puppies. I poured chicken soup into a cracked bowl. The Samoyed gratefully wagged its tail after drinking, then showed me her little pups. As I petted the puppies, memories from my past life came flooding back. In that previous life, after breaking my leg, I fell into depression and avoided human contact for a long time. Then I realized life wasn't so bleak after all. I still had Jiangxia, who could fulfill my dreams for me, so I tutored him in English, helped him prepare for the GMAT, and polished his presentations. In the end, he received an acceptance letter from Stanford. After several years of advanced studies in the U.S., he became a rising star in his field. Not only did he return to his homeland, but he also brought back an entire research team. He overcame critical technological challenges in semiconductors, breaking the West's stranglehold on the industry. His name appears frequently not just in academic journals, but also in news headlines. Golden Boy falls short of describing him. Some even hail him as a national hero of the new era. His only regret was probably marrying me and losing Suqian. Jiangxia somehow heard about Suqian's wedding and drank himself into a stupor alone, limping around. I made him sobering soup, only for him to slap it onto the floor. "Lin Yin, you must be thrilled now. Huh, Qianqian and I will never be together. You won, happy now. If I could do it over, I'd rather die than owe you my life." I probably should have cried then, but years of numbness left me dry-eyed. I just kept wondering, what if I hadn't chased after them that day? I've never really put much stock in fortune-telling or prophecies, because I believe the future exists, but it's not set in stone. Every possible future is shaped by human choices. Fortunately, I now have ample time to see what kind of life Jiangxia would have lived under different choices. In this second life, many things have changed, yet some remain the same. I'm still working hard on my English, asking professors for recommendation letters, and taking exams, only this time, it's all for myself. Since leaving the hospital, I haven't seen Jiangxia again. I'm swamped, but he's even busier than me. Suqian's mother was drowning in gambling debts, having finally hooked a cash cow. How could she let him slip away? Before even getting engaged, they made outrageous demands. 1.88 million in bride price, a fully paid luxury apartment solely under Suqian's name. Jiangxia's parents refused, and their first meeting ended in bitter disagreement. Suqian sobbed, saying Jiangxia's parents looked down on her and she refused to live under their thumb. 3. Jiangxia outright rebelled against his parents and moved out. While my parents were bragging about my Stanford grad school offer, his parents gained streaks of gray hair over their son's sudden defiance. Later, both our parents found themselves worrying about money. My parents are learning how to exchange foreign currency on their phones so they can send me money later. Dad's still considering taking on a side gig since the cost of living abroad is so high. I laughed and said there's no need to go that far. After all, I've got a full scholarship. Jiangxia's parents finally gave in to their son and agreed to Suqian's mother's request. They came back saying the previous terms had expired, demanding an additional Mercedes-Benz. I never found out what they ultimately agreed on. All I knew was that Jiangxia was hosting his engagement party as I boarded my flight to America. I'd taken this exact same flight in my past life, but I was just a supporting character, going to America to take care of Jiangxia's daily needs. Jiangxia, holding that acceptance letter, was the real protagonist. The flight to America had Wi-Fi, so I caught glimpses of Jiangxia's engagement banquet through social media. The engagement ceremony took place at the looming Pavilion Hotel, with its elegantly decorated grand hall. Su Qian's mother had converted the betrothal gifts into cash and piled it all over a table, just to show off. It was a bizarre mix of vulgarity and extravagance, as absurd as Jiangzhe standing there before Su Qian, limping in his suit with an ingratiating smile plastered across his face, though he remained blissfully unaware of how ridiculous he looked. His classmates called him the winner at life, the flattery turning his face crimson. As the sun rose over the U.S. West Coast, a WeChat notification popped up on my phone. Lin Yan, I found my happiness, I hope you find yours too. I glanced at it and left it unanswered. Emotions are the least significant thing in my life. Life in America has its ups and downs. I studied under a renowned mentor, debating with classmates of diverse backgrounds. My English has become nearly indistinguishable from a native speaker's. I've been to Yellowstone, where I saw bison taller than cars and black bears so plump they looked like walking meatballs. I even fed a bald eagle that put on a fierce front but turned out to be a total softie. All that greasy, sugary American fast food got old fast, so I gradually honed my cooking skills. I once wowed my classmates with a simple yet perfect scrambled eggs with tomatoes. I was speechless when my Japanese classmate served strawberry mapo tofu. I've experienced the horror of a street shooting while shopping. I've also felt the warmth of classmates wishing me Happy New Year in broken Chinese. Later, I brought my parents to the U.S. The elderly couple didn't feel intimidated at all in a foreign land. Instead, they eagerly learned English from me like curious kids, growing younger at heart. One Christmas, I took them to a concert at Las Vegas Spherical Theater. The dazzlingly realistic special effects were absolutely mesmerizing. Their Douyin post got 500 likes. Jiangzhe's mom commented, so envious, with a sad emoji. It was the first time I thought of him since graduation. I turned 30 the year I returned home, neither young nor old. An aunt from our old compound suddenly got the idea to organize a gathering. The kids I used to play with are all around my age now. The single ladies were comparing anti-aging products, trying to hold on to the last vestiges of youth. The boys with chubby cheeks aren't faring much better either. Those within the system lament how their predictable lives lack passion. Those outside the system dread approaching the age of workforce obsolescence, drowning in uncertainty. It's like a walled city. Outsiders envy those inside, while insiders envy those outside. My alma mater sent me a professorship offer, and I became a professor at the age of 30. I now have my own lab, and my research proposal was approved long ago. Mom was so thrilled she wanted to show off to all the old neighbors. I pressed a finger to my lips in a hushing gesture. Drawing envy from others is never a good thing. The chubby little boy from childhood has grown into a gaunt young man under life's pressures. He said to me sheepishly, Ayen, I'm sorry for bullying you when we were kids. Oh man, seeing you reminds me of that time you fought me over Jiangzhe. I never knew where your scrawny little self got all that strength from. At this point, Auntie Zhang from next door chimed in, oh yes, when you kids played house, Yan and Jiangzhe always ended up as the married couple. If we didn't let Jiangzhe marry you, he'd throw himself on the ground kicking and screaming. When are we finally going to get that wedding invitation? Mom awkwardly pulled Auntie Zhang aside. Jiangzhe's actually been engaged for a while now. Our Yan has a boyfriend now too. The private room fell so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Lin Yan, are you seeing someone? After a moment, a voice came from the corner. I glanced sideways and saw him in a black jacket, looking disheveled with his head hung low, as if trying not to be noticed, but I knew, it was Jiangzhe. Back then, everyone believed modern medical technology was advanced enough that no one would be crippled for life. In my past life, I thought the same way. But the leg never healed properly. Jiangzhe limped toward me with his bad leg. His eyes were bloodshot, burning with intensity. His lips parted slightly, then quickly sealed shut again. After repeating this 4 times, he only managed to mutter, thank you. Then he poured himself a full glass of baijiu, downed it in one gulp, and slammed the cup heavily onto the table. He limped out of the private room. His figure gradually blended into the crowd. It suddenly struck me that he was no different from the passers-by on the street, just as ordinary, just as, we won't cross paths again. During my 8 years in the U.S., I experienced firsthand how inefficient and lazy American cops can be. Any random auntie from the neighborhood could out-investigate those pot-bellied officers by miles. Take my mom, for example. After the party, she eagerly pulled me aside to gossip about Jiangzhe and Su Qian. Landing a job in our field isn't hard, just graduate successfully and you're set. With some luck, fresh graduates can land a monthly salary around 10K. That's pretty decent for ordinary folks who keep their feet on the ground. but Su Qian refused, believing that starting a business was far better than working for someone else. She persuaded Jiangxia to open a restaurant together, only for the pandemic to hit shortly after their grand opening, with dine-in services banned. Customer traffic plummeted, sometimes they couldn't make a single sale for 3 straight days, yet utility bills and rent payments couldn't be delayed even for a day. Every extra day open means deeper losses. After struggling for 4 months, Jiangxia had no choice but to sell the shop. All told, the losses came to about $500,000. Su Qian claimed live streaming sales were a gold rush, with nightly earnings in the tens of thousands. The two of them jumped into live streaming with unstoppable energy. Honestly speaking, Su Qian is genuinely good-looking. With her looks, singing talent, and conversational skills, her account gained traction fast. In less than 3 months, they'd already amassed nearly 300,000 followers. They often post cute couple skits that go viral pretty easily. Su Qian knew better than to cash in too soon. She started with basic brand deals to build her following. She only started live streaming sales after hitting 5 million followers. Just as she predicted, pulling in tens of thousands per night became effortless. At their peak, they could afford to buy a luxury flat outright in just half a month. Later, professional fraud investigators set their sights on them, alleging that their bird's nest product was just thick sugarcane syrup posing as the real thing. The feud escalated into a prolonged online war of words between both parties. The official appraisal report confirms the whistleblower was right. Selling counterfeit goods, especially when it involves food safety, is no trivial matter. Either compensate tenfold for the fake product. Failure to compensate may lead to criminal charges. The more they sold, the more they lost. Jiangxia's parents' hair turned completely white during that period. In the end, the elderly couple had to sell their house and empty their life savings to help Jiangxia plug this financial black hole. Jiangxia and Su Qian began blaming each other. Su Qian called Jiangxia useless, saying if he had any social skills, they wouldn't be losing money like this. Jiangxia accused Su Qian of being irresponsible for not vetting the products properly. The two grew increasingly distant. Jiangxia was broke, but Su Qian still had her looks going for her. Before long, through her mother's introduction, she hooked up with an overweight tycoon pushing 50. The portly man spared no expense showering her with money, so Su Qian happily bid Jiangxia farewell. They'd only been engaged, no marriage certificate, no children, making their split clean and uncomplicated. Putting it nicely, it's still their first marriage. This happened 6 years after I graduated with my bachelor's degree. After a period of depression, Jiangxia found a job with his parents' encouragement, but the job market dealt him another heavy blow. The hedonistic lifestyle had made him forget all his professional knowledge. Employers are spoiled for choice with wave after wave of fresh graduates who'd want to hire someone pushing 30 with a blank resume. All the resumes he sent out vanished without a trace, not even an acknowledgement. My methodical classmates have mostly settled into stable careers. The occasional unemployed ones never lost their roots, and with work experience under their belt, finding new jobs isn't hard. The former golden child ended up becoming the biggest underachiever. Jiangxia grew increasingly withdrawn, living off his parents' pensions at home. Only when I stumble upon an entertaining short video do I let out a scornful chuckle. After saying those words, Mom was suddenly gripped by fear. If you ended up with Jiangxia, I can't even imagine. What Mom couldn't bear to imagine was exactly what I'd lived through in my past life. I'd been well-behaved and sensible since childhood, which made me Jiangxia's mother's favorite. After I became lame from saving him, his parents seized the opportunity to arrange our marriage. At first, they protected me so much that I genuinely felt like their own daughter. Under his parents' pressure, Jiangxia maintained superficial harmony with me, but I was wrong. A daughter and a daughter-in-law are fundamentally different. Like all parents-in-law under heaven, they yearned to hold their grandchild, yet my womb remained silent. They instinctively blamed me, believing I was robbing them of the joys of family life. The truth is, Jiangxia never laid a finger on me. He's a healthy man. I've no idea how he takes care of his needs, but that's certainly none of my business. I watched my parents grow colder toward me with each passing day. Jiangxia couldn't even be bothered to maintain the facade of harmony. Once when we went shopping, he walked ahead and pushed open a store's glass door, limping desperately to catch up. Just as I reached the door, he released the handle. The door swung back, knocking me flat on the ground while nearby children burst into laughter. They laughed at my awkwardness, my limp, my ungainly walk. Jiangxia joined in the laughter. An older woman couldn't bear to watch anymore. she pulled me up and asked, "Girl, you're still young. What do you see in someone like him?" I asked myself the same question. What exactly did I see in him? Was it when Mom wouldn't let me keep cats as a child? And he secretly built us a hideout where we raised 3 stray kittens together? Was it that spring outing when I sprained my ankle, and he carried me all the way back to school? Was it the way his focused profile captivated me while he worked through difficult problems? Perhaps I'd already fallen for Jiangxia before I even understood what liking someone meant. Finally, the eldest sister let out a sigh. "Girl, he's not worth your affection." I clearly saw Jiangxia freeze for a moment. That night, Jiangxia's face was full of disdain and mockery. "So you like me, huh? Is this why you staged that whole act, faking a leg injury to save me, just to guilt-trip me into marrying you? Lin Yan, you're ruthless." With that, he stormed out without looking back. When he returned the next day, he reeked of cheap perfume. I touched my crippled leg, utterly at a loss. God, how could I be so cruel? How could I treat myself so harshly? My career quickly got on track, and we had a modest wedding before getting legally married. My husband is an American-born Chinese who returned to the homeland with me. We became the most talked-about couple on campus, just like Jiangxia and Su Qian all those years ago. Sometimes I think I finally understand why childhood sweethearts rarely stand a chance against fate's surprises. Sternberg proposed that love consists of 3 elements: passion, intimacy, and commitment. Those we've known since childhood often have abundant intimacy but lack passion. People tend to take for granted what they've always possessed, though not as deeply familiar. My husband and I never run out of things to talk about. His eyes widened in disbelief when I told him Chinese restaurants don't serve fortune cookies, exclaiming I'd ruined his childhood. It suddenly clicked when he explained most American houses use wooden frames rather than concrete structures. No wonder serial killers in American shows can hack through walls with just a kitchen knife. I thought life would just go on like this, and I'd never see Jiangxia again. That day at the farmer's market, my husband and I ran into Jiangxia's mother. She was the same age as my mom and had lived comfortably before, but now she looked years older than my mother. She nervously tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "Ayan got married. Want to come over to our place for dinner later?" When I saw her casually drop a bitter melon into the shopping basket, I knew there was no way I could say no. I have rather peculiar taste preferences. I enjoy drinking black Americano coffee. I prefer chocolate with a hint of bitterness over purely sweet ones. Among vegetables, bitter gourd is my absolute favorite. That subtle bitter note feels incredibly refreshing to me. I used to mooch meals at Jiangxia's place as a kid, and my peculiar taste preferences even rubbed off on his mom. Bitter melon became a regular on their dining table. Back then, his parents would say, "Look after Ayan at school, don't let anyone bully her." Jiangxia would shovel a huge mouthful of rice and flex his underdeveloped biceps. "You bet." Jiangxia's father said this was the best way to cure his picky eating habit. On the way home, Jiangxia's mother reminisced about the past. 5. Ayan, you've always been so lovely since childhood. Both his father and I have always adored you. We even planned for you two to study abroad together and return for academic positions, having winter and summer vacations to spend time with family and children. What could be better? It seems he wasn't destined for this blessing. She gave my husband an inscrutable look before exhaling wearily. I reassured her. Please don't say that. Perhaps Jiangxia's fortune lies elsewhere. Truth be told, I've never believed in such notions of predestined fortune. Everyone must face the consequences of their own choices. Jiangxia's family moved into a cramped old house where her husband had to stoop to enter. Upon seeing him, Jiangxia nervously smoothed her hair and wiped her hands on a towel. Then she lit another cigarette. The husband waved his hand. Ayan can't stand the smell of smoke. Jiangxia immediately stubbed out the cigarette in his hand. He kept shifting positions on the sofa, crossing and uncrossing his legs restlessly. This exact mix of awkwardness and insecurity, I've lived through it countless times in past lives. After a long silence, Jiangxia finally spoke. Both of you are top graduates from Stanford. Let me ask you something. Do you think parallel universes exist? Her husband countered. Why bring this up all of a sudden? Lately, I think I've been seeing things that happened in another world. In that world, on the day of the accident, Ayan saved me. She ended up with a limp. My husband pressed further. What happened then? Did Ayan get to study in America? No, I was the one who went to study. Did you take good care of Ayan for her entire life? Jiangxia gazed into his eyes and remained silent for a long while. I hated her for my whole life. The husband quickly responded. A world like that couldn't possibly exist. Ayan didn't deserve to suffer like that. Saying Jiangxia hated me for a lifetime in our past incarnation isn't entirely accurate. Because we never lived what you'd call a full lifetime. In her previous life, Su Qian married into a wealthy family, but within a few years, the rich heir grew bored and found himself a younger girl outside. Su Qian lacked the confidence to resist. After all, everything she had came from him. Depressed, she reconnected with Jiangxia. They often confided their marital woes late into the night. At first Jiangxia would sneak off to the bathroom, but eventually he stopped hiding and put me on speakerphone right in front of me. After Jiangxia secured a 50 million yuan research grant, Su Qian finally made up her mind to file for divorce. With that promise in hand, Jiangxia felt reborn, grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. The moment he got home from work, he practically dragged me to the civil affairs office without explanation. Along the way, he whistled cheerfully for the first time in ages, humming a tune under his breath. The youthful spark returned to his eyes, but in the end, we didn't go through with the divorce. As we were passing a construction site, an accident occurred. A massive crane came crashing down, landing right on us. That suffocating sensation of impending death, the crimson haze, the struggle for breath, was utterly unbearable. As consciousness flickered, Jiangxia's voice pierced through the haze. He said he hated me. Hated how I'd forced marriage upon him through obligation, shackling his entire existence. I couldn't tell how long my consciousness drifted through that void of darkness. It could have been millennia, or just a fleeting moment. When the crushing weight of earth and stone lifted, I opened my eyes to find myself back at the mid-autumn family dinner table. I never understood why Jiangxia thanked me that day. Was it for standing up for him when we were kids? Should I be thanking fate for granting his wish by never coming to his rescue? But I find myself curiously indifferent to the answer. What difference does it make either way? And so concludes the story of Jiangxia and me. Everything I later learned about Jiangxia came straight from my mother's mouth. She said Jiangxia kept taking civil service exams until 35, but never managed to pass. Eventually he wasn't even eligible to register anymore. As Zhang's parents aged and hospital visits became frequent, their pensions couldn't sustain his idle lifestyle. He had no choice but to go out and earn money. With no other options, he took up food delivery. On his very first day, he got fined hundreds for being late after a customer complaint. He confronted the customer at their doorstep, scared them, and got detained by police for 3 days. After his release, he started working day jobs like the legendary Sanha day laborers. Earning a couple $100 for a day's work, he'd coast for a few days before picking up odd jobs again. My husband and I, like Jiangxia in a past life, cracked a major semiconductor challenge. Though we're not particularly interested in making headlines or appearing in the news, I just enjoy taking my parents to explore good eats around town on weekends, savoring all kinds of delicious food. After visiting the 100th restaurant, my husband finally came to terms with the fact that fortune cookies simply weren't available there. Then let's call our daughter Lucky as her nickname. Looking at the tiny, still wrinkled bundle beside me, I nodded in agreement, though it's not typically a name given to people, but I find it perfectly fitting. How fortunate I am to get a second chance at life. Stepping out from Jiangxia's shadow, meeting him brought her into my life. E&D, Story 2. The junior who had a crush on Zhou Rang left me paralyzed from the waist down. He knelt by my hospital bed, holding my hand with guilt, vowing to care for me forever. Yet later, he was rolling between the sheets with that junior in our own home, and there I was behind the door, powerless to even turn away. After a year of marriage, Zhou Rang's guilt had completely faded. On the slope, he personally unlocked my wheelchair and pushed me into traffic. He only said one thing, "Donga, I owe you nothing." When I woke again, I was back in my junior year of college. In the foot spa, Zhou Rang crouched humbly before me with his toolkit. Madam, the water temperature is adjusted." I stared blankly at the person before me. At that moment, Zhou Rang still carried a youthful innocence between his brows. He pressed his lips together nervously, face flushed with embarrassment, eyes brimming with both hurt and defiance when I remained silent. "Xiadonga, if you came here just to humiliate me." Mission accomplished. "Now please let me work." The air turned glacial. My best friend Chia tried to defuse the tension, but I caught her by the wrist. Then I looked up at Zhou Rang, glancing at his name tag, Technician 35. "You find your job humiliating." I coolly averted my gaze. "Your work ethic is unacceptable. You don't even bother serving customers properly." "I want someone else." Zhou Rang stared straight at me. In his mind, I should have been groveling to please him. The old Xiaodonga would never have spoken to Zhou Rang in such an icy tone. Lying on the bed, I said coldly, "Get out." Zhou Rang's knuckles turned white as he gripped the toolbox, his eyelids twitched as if deeply humiliated before he turned to leave. When everyone had left, Qiao moved closer and asked, "Have you been possessed? Weren't you just defending Zhou Rang earlier, saying his hands were meant to dance across piano keys, not massage feet? Why the sudden change?" I buried my face in my hands and let out an exhausted sigh. Looking up again, I gave a wry smile. "Someone like Zhou Rang isn't worth my attention." Qiao smiled approvingly. "Glad you finally came around. That wasn't easy." Mid-conversation, sudden commotion erupted outside the door. "Let me in, don't stop me." Jiang Xia burst in, eyes red with anger as she confronted me. "Xiaodonga, how could you humiliate Senior Zhou? A proud man like him, do you have any idea what this means to him?" Qiao frowned. "And who exactly are you?" Jiang Xia turned away. "Rich girls like you could never understand the struggles Senior Zhou and I've been through. You just leech off your parents, while we earn our keep with dignity. If anyone should be ashamed, it's you parasites." Jiang Xia is that Junior Zhou Rang always talks about. Listen to that defiant tone. What Zhou Rang admired most about Jiang Xia was her unyielding spirit. Even after we got married, he'd often mention how she bloomed like a flower pushing through concrete, the complete opposite of my crippled self. I glanced at Jiang Xia's uniform and suddenly remembered, when Zhou Rang started working at this foot spa, she immediately quit her bubble tea shop job and followed him here the next day. I smirked at her. What a coincidence. The parasite you're badmouthing happens to own this place. Consider this your termination notice. You. Jiang Xia's face flushed then paled, panic flashing in her eyes. Zhou Rang rushed over. At the sight of him, her eyes welled up. "Senior, I just wanted to stand up for you. I didn't mean to upset Xia." Zhou Rang stepped in front of Jiang Xia, frowning. "If you've got a problem, take it out on me. Don't take your anger out on others. That's just laughable. Not working during office hours. Think this is your damn living room." I glared at Zhou Rang. "Take it out on you? Who the hell do you think you are? Both of you, pack your shit and get out now. Understood?" 2. I chased after Zhou Rang for 2 years. He's a piano prodigy with slender, dexterous hands that can make even the most ordinary piece sound extraordinary. He played the piano while I danced. We were once considered the perfect artistic duo. The arts have always been an expensive field to pursue. By his junior year, Zhou's family could no longer afford to support his education. He agreed to date me just to stay in school. Blinded by joy, I missed the resentment and humiliation in his eyes. I ended up covering all his college expenses. Zhou Rang and I got engaged right after graduation. As expected, on the very day of our engagement, Jiang Xia pushed me down the stairs, and I broke my spine. Zhou Rang rushed to the hospital, his eyes bloodshot as he knelt by my bed and said, "Donga, I'll marry you." But Jiang Xia is only 22, she has a real shot at joining a top-tier dance company. Could we just let this go? Under the covers, I dug my nails into my lifeless legs, my voice trembling. "But Zhou Rang, I was a dancer too." His hand shook as he clutched mine, tears falling onto my skin like rain. "Donga, just let her go, will you?" Zhou Rang knew perfectly well that elite dance company he mentioned had always been my dream. I was supposed to join right after the engagement. I was this close. After being discharged, I became partially paralyzed and could never return to the stage. Zhou Rang pleaded with countless people but still couldn't get Jiang Xia released. Later he visited me daily, weeping with guilt, saying it was all his fault that I ended up like this. For the longest time, he never once mentioned Jiang Xia. I thought he had truly moved on. "Donga, I'll take responsibility for you. Trust me on this." Zhou Rang gazed at me with tearful, soulful eyes. I nodded. My own eyes reddened. My wedding with Zhou Rang went smoothly. He was genuinely good to me at first, until Jiang Xia showed up at my home. Trembling with rage, I confronted her. "Shouldn't you be in prison? How is this possible?" Jiang Xia looked down at me with a smirk, holding out my school dance costume and shoes. "Senior, you left something behind," she said. "I'm just returning your belongings." She smirked at my legs. "Though I suppose you don't need them anymore." I lunged at her like a madman, screaming, "How are you here? How are you here?" Jiang Xia took a step back, relishing the sight of me tumbling helplessly from the wheelchair. She batted her eyelashes. "I owe my ability to stand here so comfortably to your dear father." I froze. Zhou Rang happened to return at that moment. He frowned at Jiang Xia before rushing over to support me, with bloodshot eyes. I clutched his hand tightly and pointed at Jiang Xia. "She escaped from prison." Call the police to arrest her now, hurry. Zhou Rang looked at me with pity. Donga, Jiang Xia didn't break out of prison. Seeing Zhou Rang's calm expression, I completely broke down. He clung to me desperately, urging Jiang Xia to leave immediately. That day I sank my teeth deep into Zhou Rang's shoulder, staining his white shirt crimson with blood. Only then did I realize my father, seeing me so despondent, had feared I might do something drastic. Back then, Zhou Rang was the only one who could bring light to my eyes, and I became utterly dependent on him. Zhou Rang approached my father, offering to marry me and stay by my side for life, on the condition that Jiang Xia be spared without a single blemish on her record. As I was my father's only daughter, his heart softened and he agreed. Later, Jiang Xia returned to campus. Her 2-month disappearance was whitewashed as a study abroad exchange, after which she became a scholarship-winning campus goddess in everyone's eyes. After learning the truth, I cried daily, consumed by anxiety and insecurity. Zhou Rang treated me even better than before, tolerating all my tantrums without complaint. Over time, I gradually came to believe everything was my fault. Zhou Rang had sacrificed too much. I started walking on eggshells to please him. Jiang Xia never showed up again. In the 3rd year of our marriage, Zhou Rang completely took over my family's company. My father suffered a stroke from overwork and was hospitalized. I kept wanting to visit him, but Zhou wouldn't allow it. That night, they drank until the early hours celebrating Zhou Rang's successful takeover of the company. In the end, it was Jiang Xia who brought him home. In the dimly lit living room, I watched my husband being affectionate with the woman who ruined me. Zhou Rang staggered over and patted my head, saying, "Donga, it's too late. I don't feel comfortable letting Xia go home alone. She'll stay with us tonight." With that, he led Jiang Xia back to their room. A door now stood between us. Inside, laughter and warmth lingered. Outside, only cold desolation remained. 3. The whole campus is buzzing about me finally cutting off Zhou Rang. The forums are flooded with discussions about it. Onlooker 1. Bet you anything Xia Donga is playing hard to get. No way she'd give up after chasing Zhou Rang for so long. Onlooker 2. Xia's gorgeous, loaded and talented. Zhou's just a social climber. So what if she was blind before? Our queen's got her vision back now. Melon Observer 3, seconded. Nailed it, Summer Zhou. If y'all got so much free time, go practice your skills. Anybody with eyes can see Zhou Rang Sr. was never into Xia Donga. She threw herself at him but got rejected. That's why she gave up. So cringe. Soon the comment section erupted into chaos, with Summer Zhou single-handedly taking on the entire crowd. Quite entertaining to watch. As I looked down at my phone, a shadow suddenly fell across my view. I looked up to see Zhou Rang staring at me with a stern face. "We need to talk." I grabbed my things and walked away without looking back. Talk to him? I feel sick just looking at him now. Donga. Zhou Rang came chasing after me. Seeing me walk faster, he stood still and shouted, "Xia Donga, don't make me angry, you know what'll happen." I froze abruptly. This was the exact phrase Zhou Rang, who cheated after marriage, always used. Memories of him yanking my hair and beating me flooded back, my body trembling uncontrollably. I turned slowly to find him standing a short distance away. That gaze, it was definitely not the restrained Zhou Rang I knew now. He approached step by step, finally stopping just an arm's length before me. With the same smug confidence as calling a dog, he extended his hand. "Come here." I froze in place while Zhou Rang maintained that faint smirk. After a moment, I lifted my head and took a firm step back. Watching Zhou Rang's stunned expression, I spat out, "Go fuck yourself." I turned and walked away, hearing Zhou Rang grind his teeth behind me. "You'll regret this." Rounding the corner, I slumped against the wall gasping for air, my palms slick with cold sweat. No matter how calm I appeared on the surface, but years of psychological manipulation had wired me to instinctively fear Zhou Rang. I kept telling myself it's a fresh start. Zhou Rang's just a penniless student now, powerless to do anything. Yet this gnawing unease persisted until I heard a hauntingly familiar melody. In its past life, this composition had taken the internet by storm the moment it dropped. Its creator was an obscure pianist who'd lived in a basement for 3 years. The heartbreaking yet uplifting backstory made the piece resonate deeply. But now, the composer's credit went to Zhou Rang. I cursed under my breath. What a scumbag. The pity was, no one else knew how despicable Zhou Rang truly was. According to the timeline from my past life, the original composer only had a rough idea for this melody in their head at this point, hadn't even started writing it down. Even he himself probably felt like he'd had a mental collision with Zhou Rang. As before, this composition grew increasingly popular, with many approaching to purchase its copyright. Zhou Reng suddenly became the golden boy of the entire academy. This composition solved his financial difficulties. Those days of struggling to pay tuition and put food on the table in my past life never returned, though I despised Zhou Reng's actions. I couldn't produce any evidence and had to watch this scoundrel thrive. 4. I saw Zhou Reng again 2 weeks later. He played Mariage d'amour under the girls' dormitory. Under the streetlight, Zhou Reng stood in a tailored suit, his eyes radiating sheer arrogance. The air buzzed with fawning admiration as starstruck girls gasped breathlessly around him. As the song ended, Zhou Reng rose and gazed at the crowd, declaring with theatrical tenderness, "Shushya, be my girlfriend." Zhou Reng gazed at Jiang Xia with burning intensity as their classmates erupted in rowdy cheers. From my dorm window, I watched Jiang Xia cover her trembling lips, tears glistening as she nodded fervently. "I do." The two embraced in each other's arms. Zhou Reng spotted me, still holding Jiang Xia, tilting his head up with a smirk before shooting me a knowing eyebrow raise. I rolled my eyes and drew the curtains shut. Zhou Reng and Jiang Xia's romance burned with passionate intensity. They broke into the music classroom at midnight, playing piano and dancing until campus security chased them halfway across the school. Defying school regulations, they took commercial gigs and went viral online, becoming the internet's most envied golden couple. They kissed and took photos atop the piano-shaped stone monument that symbolizes musicians' devotion. Jiang Xia's pale feet rested on the piano keys while Zhou Reng knelt attentively painting her toenails. Of course, none of this had anything to do with me. After rebirth, I cherished every second. The sheer exhilaration of dancing freely with my legs was intoxicating. I started preparing for the dance troupe audition a year in advance. Those sweat-drenched practice sessions in the studio filled me with pure joy and fulfillment. Zhou Reng, Jiang Xia, your misconduct has severely damaged the school's reputation. After faculty deliberation, we're issuing both of you formal warnings. Standing outside the office door, hearing their names mentioned left me momentarily dazed. I knocked gently on the door. The counselor noticed my expression softening slightly. I handed over the form in my hand. "Here's the roster you requested, Professor." The counselor took it and turned to Jiang Xia. "You and Xia Dongga are in the same program. Her current skills rival dancers with years of company experience. While you're busy with flashy gimmicks, learn from your senior Xia. In our field, romance means nothing, only skill matters." Jiang Xia forced a nod with a strained smile, but her gaze toward me turned venomous. "All right, the college will handle your disciplinary actions." "Hold on," Zhou Reng cut in with a smile. "Professor, take a look at this before deciding whether to punish us." He handed the advisor a sheet of musical notation. The advisor grew more delighted with each glance, while my frown deepened. I looked up at Zhou Reng. He met my gaze without a trace of guilt, his eyes brimming with smugness. "Professor, as a fellow professional, you understand this composition's worth better than I do," Zhou Reng said reassuringly while taking Jiang Xia's hand. "The piece hasn't been published yet. I can add our school's name to the credits. As for disciplinary action, surely you wouldn't want your star student tarnished with a black mark." The advisor fell silent, placing the score on the desk before saying, "Go back for now. I'll discuss this with the administration and get back to you. Thanks for your hard work, Professor." Zhou Reng nodded and walked out of the office with Jiang Xia. I said a quick goodbye to the advisor and hurried after them. "Zhou Reng, wait up." Jiang Xia immediately stepped in front of Zhou Reng when she saw me, shooting me a hostile glare. "Xia Dongga, have you no shame? He's my boyfriend now." My gaze burned into Zhou Reng's eyes with barely contained fury. Zhou Reng patted Jiang Xia's head affectionately. "Be good, go back first." He leaned close to her ear. "Didn't you always want to join Splendor Dance Troupe? I've got a surprise for you in a few days." Jiang Xia playfully punched his arm with a smile. "Then you'd better not get too close to her." "Got it, babe." After suppressing my disgust and waiting for Jiang Xia to leave, I confronted him. "You stole someone's composition again. You know better than anyone that teacher Yutong wrote that piece to save his wife's life. How can you live with yourself?" Zhou Reng sneered. "Why wouldn't I? Yutong wouldn't finish this song for another 6 months. By then his wife would already be terminal. What good would a hit song do? Better to let it enhance my portfolio where it can actually make a difference. Teacher Yutong was your mentor. He's the one who brought you out of the mountains." Zhou Reng roared. "When the song blows up and I get the money, I'll lend him the surgery fees, I'm helping him. I froze. Zhou Rang's twisted morals shattered my last shred of tolerance. You're utterly shameless. Keep stealing others' work and you'll run out of songs eventually, sooner or later. Everyone will see you're just a fraud. Zhou Rang shrugged with indifference. That's probably years away, worst case scenario. I'll gracefully admit I've lost my touch and retire behind the scenes. People will just lament my departure and forever remember me as the prodigy Zhou Rang. By then I'll have fame and fortune. What do I care about petty gossip? Zhou Rang stepped closer, eyes burning with malice. Regretting your choices now, Xie Dongga. I gave you a chance. The first thing I did after rebirth was find you, but you blew it. Now I'm the celebrated genius while you're the pitiful cast-off. You and that idiot father of yours will get exactly what you deserve. I frowned. What does my father have to do with this? Disgust flashed in Zhou Rang's eyes as he sneered. Know why I returned later than you? Because I spent a year on the run after your death. All thanks to that old bastard father of yours. I should have rightfully inherited all Xie family shares as your widower. But no, your dad had contingency plans. The day your death was announced, his lawyer donated every last share and handed police evidence of Xiaxia pushing you off that building. Xiaxia's reputation was ruined. She panicked during the arrest, ran into traffic, and got obliterated by a truck. 3 months pregnant too. Zhou Rang grew increasingly agitated. Your father deserved to die. The bastard actually had people investigate your death beforehand, trying to send me to prison. Because of him, I've been on the run for over a year. That stroke-ridden old fool should have rotted in the nursing home. Why did he have to interfere? I froze in shock. My father had been hospitalized before my accident. He knew everything all along. He'd even arranged everything for me before collapsing himself. My eyes stung with unshed tears. Xie Dongga. My return proves even the heavens reject that ending. The Xie family owes me and Xiaxia, and you'll repay every last debt. Slowly turning to Zhou Rang with bloodshot eyes, I whispered hoarsely, yes, it's time to repay. You competed in Golden Age dance troupe's audition last lifetime. Surely you remember the champion's routine. Zhou Rang's tone brooked no argument. Recreate it for Xiaxia. That trophy belongs to her. My fists clenched tightly as I sneered. Fine. Zhou Rang was pleased by my compliance. Xie Dongga. Admit it. No matter how many times we start over, you'd still fall for me. Don't worry. If you behave, I might reconsider. Zhou Rang started away triumphantly. I watched his retreating figure, my gaze turning icy. 5. With 3 months left until the Xingshi dance troupe auditions, Jiang Xia, egged on by Zhou Rang, showed up at the practice room to harass me daily. I put my heart and soul into teaching her the dance. Jiang Xia sneered. So much for the goddess Xia. All that effort choreographing this dance, only to hand it over to me. Seems Zhou Rang told her this dance was mine. True. Though I wonder if you're even capable of pulling it off. Save your concern, I'll definitely outdance you. Jiang Xia brimmed with confidence, hoping to dominate the assessment with that same regal air. While we were preparing for exams, Zhou Rang wasn't idle either. He signed up for an obscure competition. The event seemed insignificant, but who could have predicted it would catch the eye of world-class masters? Its top performers later became industry legends. Zhou Rang's prior reputation gave him a head start, causing the competition to gain attention earlier than in his previous life. Riding on the coattails of another artist's hit song, Zhou Rang clinched the championship without breaking a sweat. The mastermind behind the scenes had taken notice of Zhou Rang, but to my surprise, it wasn't him who presented the award on finals day. I froze when a noticeably younger face appeared on camera. On the live broadcast, Zhou Rang's brows furrowed almost imperceptibly, clearly displeased with this person presenting his award, yet he restrained himself in public, his gaze fixed on the trophy with a calculating glint that starkly contrasted with the other man's composed demeanor. The man turned to Zhou Rang with a smile. I've heard your previous works, each one remarkable. Might I ask you a question? Zhou Rang kept his eyes on the trophy, his tone indifferent bordering on impatient. Go ahead. Unfazed by the rudeness, the man remained courteous. I'm curious about the dramatic emotional shifts in your compositions. Your first original piece radiated hope and passion, yet the second plunged into profound grief, all within a fortnight. What inspired such a stark transition in so short a time? Zhou Rang's expression froze, a flicker of panic flashing in his eyes. Camera flashes bombarded them as reporters scrambled for the scoop. Yet several minutes passed without Zhou Rang uttering a single word. After a pause, his face darkened as he said flatly, creation is deeply personal. I won't discuss it publicly, that question stays unanswered. The man's smile faltered as he nodded understandingly. My apologies, that was presumptuous of me. Fame grants infinite leniency. People instinctively justified Zhou Rang's eccentric behavior as artistic temperament. After the competition, Zhou Rang became the piano world's brightest rising star, the name on everyone's lips. These days he's constantly networking with elites at business functions. I haven't seen him in the practice room for ages. What's more, the original tournament champion was supposed to be taken as a disciple by that grandmaster, but in this lifetime, apart from the initial hype, the master never showed up again. Though strange, it might just be the butterfly effect after rebirth. I didn't dwell on it. After Zhou Rang rose to fame, he befriended some locally influential figures. His first move was to throw subtle obstacles in my father's company's way. My dad's been swamped lately, barely home all week. Zhou Rang called me. He said, "Consider this a friendly warning. Teach Xia properly." Got it. I tightened my grip on the phone. Understood. After I taught the exam choreography, Jiang Xia never showed up in the practice room again. She only crammed a few quick run-throughs right before the assessment. Soon came the evaluation day for the Grandeur dance troupe. Jiang Xia arrived at the audition radiant in meticulously prepared dancewear, having hired a professional makeup artist. The evaluation process is completely transparent and open, with all candidates permitted to observe on-site, and the entire session is being recorded. The previous groups of examinees performed at similar levels, and the judging panel appeared quite satisfied. Jiang Xia stood behind me and whispered, "I really don't know why you bothered showing up, just asking for humiliation." I curled my lips and nodded, looking forward to being humiliated by you, Junior Jiang. When the examiner called my name, I ignored Jiang Xia's sarcastic remarks and stepped forward. As the music began, I danced with all my might, just like I had during countless days and nights of practice. In an instant, the surrounding noise faded away. I felt a spotlight shining down as I danced in my most beautiful costume, performing the moves I loved. When the music ended, I opened my eyes, breathing slightly heavily. The surroundings were so quiet I could hear nothing but my own breathing. Someone started clapping, and suddenly the room erupted in applause as I bowed with a smile. As I exited, a fellow dancer came up to congratulate me. "You were amazing." Everyone was mesmerized. Even the judges couldn't stop nodding. "You've definitely got this in the bag." "Thanks." I didn't feign modesty. No one understood better than me how much effort I'd poured into preparing for this audition. "I'll keep working hard to deserve these flowers and applause." "TCH, who are you trying to fool?" Jiang Xia rolled her eyes nearby. Soon it was her turn to take the stage. I have to admit, Jiang Xia has a natural talent for this. She doesn't practice diligently, but her innate abilities carry her through. The performance was flawless though not particularly outstanding. It's just a shame the dance ended up being so conventional. I had higher hopes for her. Jiang Xia's innovative choreography also earned her plenty of applause. She strode off stage with her head held high, oblivious to the furrowed brows of a veteran judge in the panel. Jiang Xia deliberately bumped into me as she passed by, smirking. "Oops, senior, guess I stole your spotlight." I curled my lips slightly, watching her in silence. My gaze made Jiang Xia visibly uneasy. She scoffed and walked away. My gaze shifted to the judges' panel, where the frowning teacher exchanged a few words with colleagues before their eyes subtly drifted toward Jiang Xia. Jiang Xia, who'd been confident of victory moments earlier, now sensed something amiss and nervously clutched at her skirt. Though all contestants should have been dismissed immediately after performances, we were all instructed to remain. The venue was then sealed off as organizing committee officials arrived. Everyone was whispering and speculating, terrified the matter might involve them. I waited calmly, but Jiang Xia couldn't sit still. She crept up to me and asked anxiously, "Xia Dongga, did you do something?" I smiled. "Jiang Xia, a clear conscience fears no false accusations. Why panic?" Jiang Xia gnashed her teeth. "If you ruin me, Brother Zhou Rang will make you pay." I remained expressionless, ignoring everything she said. The committee members brought computers and kept cross-checking with the exam footage. The atmosphere grew increasingly tense as several teachers glared at Jiang Xia with barely contained fury. Jiang Xia tried to contact Zhou Rang, but her phone had been confiscated earlier, cutting off all outside communication. Half an hour later, the organizing committee immediately declared Jiang Xia's exam results invalid. "On what grounds?" Jiang Xia shouted in protest, her flawless makeup slightly contorted with anger. The committee members couldn't care less about her dissatisfaction and continued, not only are your results voided, examinee Jiang Xiao will also be banned from all examinations and competitions organized by any institution for the next 5 years. Furthermore, we've already reported this incident to the police. You'll need to accompany us to the station to explain exactly how you obtained the confidential dance routine that hadn't been publicly released. The moment those words were spoken, the room erupted in uproar. Jiang Xia panicked too, her eyes reddening as her voice trembled. I didn't steal anything, it wasn't me. She turned to me. I get it now. This is all you're doing. Grabbing my arm desperately, she cried. It's her. She taught me all these dance moves. Arrest her instead. My eyes welled up. Junior, you must be confused from panic. This is the first time I've seen you perform this dance. Besides, everyone knows we don't get along. Why would I teach you such a beautiful routine if I knew it? You bitch, you knew all along, didn't you? I let Jiang Xia push me down weakly, tears welling up in my eyes. It's okay if you hate me, Junior. It's all the senior's fault. Please calm down, you're scaring the other students. Jiang Xia screamed and lunged forward, only to be restrained by security personnel. Other classmates helped me up and comforted me. I wiped away my tears and glanced at Jiang Xia with undisguised contempt. The action sent her into another screaming fit. Terrified, I hid in the crowd watching her lose it. Just like in my past life, Jiang Xia always played the victim. The manipulative games she used on me are now coming back to haunt her tenfold. 6. Since Jiang Xia insisted I was the one who leaked the dance moves to her, the organizing committee launched an investigation against me, but they found absolutely nothing. For that, we've got Zhou Rang to thank. To protect Jiang Xia from any harm, he privately rented practice studios and destroyed all surveillance footage during their dance training, all to prevent me from proving I taught Jiang Xia those moves and stealing her spotlight. Little did he know, this actually played right into my hands. After all, there's no possible connection between me and the secret dance project. While Jiang Xia and Zhou Rang were notorious troublemakers school-wide, is there any forbidden place they wouldn't dare to break into? Stealing a dance routine would be child's play for them. Besides, Jiang Xia and Zhou Rang are constantly featured on the forum's front page together with me. The committee could easily find out we'd been at each other's throats, which only proves Jiang Xia's desperate measures, like a cornered rat biting wildly. As for me, I've been the victim through this entire ordeal. This incident has serious consequences. Jiang Xia got expelled and now faces potential jail time. Xia Dongga, you set me up. Zhou Rang cornered me on the street, the bloodshot eyes betraying how tirelessly he'd been running around for Jiang Xia these days. I chuckled. How could that be? I followed your instructions to the letter. Zhou Rang fumed. I asked you to help Xia win first place. Is this how you assist her? I watched him like a circus monkey. Since when did thieves become picky? You've stolen the grand prize this time. Why aren't you celebrating? Xia Dongga, you'll pay for this. Zhou Rang stormed off in a rage. I took out my phone and made a call. Initiate the plan. After that day, Zhou Rang grew desperate. He began shuttling between high-end business clubs, scrambling to expand his connections. Finally, at a grand banquet, Zhou Rang hooked up with a female tycoon. This businesswoman was a renowned entrepreneur with fortunes beyond counting. Through her, Zhou Rang gained access to high society circles. Rumor has it their latest amusement involves the crowd drinking and chatting while Zhou Rang plays music in the background. Those who fancied could even step up for a hands-on try. Zhou Rang could only force a smile while catering to the sugar mommies and wealthy benefactors. When Zhou Rang felt he'd grown close enough to his patroness, he seized the chance to ask her to clean up Jiang Xia's mess. To his shock, the patroness flew into a rage, calling him an ungrateful wretch who couldn't distinguish master from servant, daring to mention his mistress before his benefactor. Zhou Rang turned pale with fright and hurried to placate her. I laughed so hard my stomach hurt when I heard this. How did I know? Because that wealthy lady is my aunt. Sweetie, how much longer are we keeping up this act? That pretty boy annoys me. His shady intentions are written all over his face. So tiresome. My aunt complained while lounging on the sofa. I lowered my gaze. Indeed, Zhou Rang's thoughts were always written all over his face. Only someone as blind as my past self could have missed it. Almost there. Just hang on a little longer. My aunt sighed and poked my forehead in exasperation. My dad doesn't know about my collaboration with Auntie. My parents fell in love freely, but back then my father had nothing. My grandfather opposed their marriage, so Mom eloped with him. Grandpa was furious and said some harsh words, stubborn as she was. Mom barely kept in touch with the family afterward. After I was born, Mom's health deteriorated. She reflected on many things and deeply regretted cutting ties with her family. Sadly, she passed away not long after reconciling with Grandpa. Later, Dad and I gradually lost contact with that side of the family. That's why Zhou Rang never knew about my maternal family in our past life. When Zhou Rang mentioned my father had a backup plan after my death, I immediately suspected he'd turned to Grandpa for help. Dad was already hospitalized by then. No matter how resourceful he was, he couldn't have planned that far ahead. The only explanation was Grandpa's intervention. After my rebirth, I visited Grandpa often. The old man would grumble about my visits, yet he'd personally prepare my favorite dishes each time, then insist we share tea and play chess together. Auntie doted on me too. She'd tear up every time she saw me. Later I casually probed Dad about it. He didn't deny it, just encouraged me to spend more time with Grandpa's side of the family. 7. When Zhou Rang saw my aunt wasn't biting, he started scheming other plans. He composed 10 hit songs in a single month, causing a sensation and earning the nickname Hit Machine. Reading the news, I muttered idiot under my breath before making a call. Time to move. 3 days later, at the peak of Zhou Rang's fame, someone claiming to be the original creator released a video. In the video, he detailed his creative journey from conception to completion, presenting timestamps of both handwritten and digital drafts. All evidence pointed to his work being identical to Zhou Rang's newly released piece. A single accuser might have been dismissed, but when over a dozen people simultaneously posted identical allegations, Zhou Rang became the epicenter of controversy, with media outlets swarming to cover the story. Zhou Rang launched emergency PR, tearfully proclaiming, "I knew my talent might breed jealousy, but never imagined this. Each composition is my child. If I plagiarized, I'd turn myself in without waiting for lawsuits." Public opinion became polarized. The video creator then delivered the knockout punch. Being short on money, I couldn't bring myself to replace my old piano. That's why there's a slightly off note in my composition. Any trained ear would spot the dissonance immediately. Yet Zhou Rang's score copied even that wrong note verbatim. Just as Zhou Rang attempted to defend himself, one person's appearance shattered him completely. It was a refined, bespectacled man, the same person seen in the video with his cancer-stricken wife. He produced a musical score and declared, "I composed this piece 6 months ago during my darkest hours after my wife's diagnosis. The melody was too emotionally heavy, so I shelved it to avoid spiraling into depression." Yet months later, I heard it being played by none other than my own student. With tears in his eyes, Professor Tong confronted Zhou Rang across the screen. "There's a line in the second movement written using my wife's pet name. If you claim this composition is yours, care to explain that?" Amid the heated arguments, one netizen dropped this bombshell in the comments: "The stylistic shifts in Zhou Rang's released compositions are too drastic. No composer can overhaul their signature style so effortlessly in such short time while producing this volume. Unless we're talking about some musical chameleon, then forget I said anything." The comment initially sank without trace, but after being shared by an industry heavyweight, it skyrocketed to legendary status. Turns out the influencer who reposted it was actually someone familiar. He was the man who questioned Zhou Rang at the competition that day. I later learned he's an internationally renowned piano virtuoso, and the junior disciple of that world-class maestro everyone admires. Having just returned to the country and being quite low-key, he rarely makes public appearances. With endorsements from authorities, people regained their senses. Some bloggers even created audio analysis videos debunking the claims point by point. Zhou Rang got completely owned in the end, watching everything unfold behind my phone screen. I wasn't the least bit surprised. A text message popped up on my phone: "Boss, mission accomplished." I promptly wired the final payment to the other party. That's right, I did all of this. I had people contact the original composers whose works Zhou Rang plagiarized to verify their creative process. When I reached them, several had fallen into deep self-doubt after hearing Zhou's published tracks. They initially thought it was just coincidental similarities in the opening. But the more they composed, the more they realized their new creations perfectly matched Zhou's stolen works. They despised themselves, believing they were unworthy of being composers, even contemplating ending their lives at one point. Yet the real culprit behind all this continues to profit from their suffering, shamelessly feasting on the fruits of others' misery. The person who surprised me most was Yudo Sensei. I learned he had composed a song when donating to his wife's medical fund. The music score gathering dust on the shelf bled sorrow in every note. Yudo Sensei had written this song when his wife first fell ill. in his previous life, he refused to release such a heartbreaking composition, believing its existence meant his wife was no longer healthy. In the end, the family's savings ran dry, forcing teacher Tom to release this song, yet none of this was known in their past life. That's precisely why Zhou Rang fell into such a deep trap. Plagiarizing a mentor's work is universally condemned across all professions. Crushed by public backlash, Zhou Rang fell from grace overnight. He was utterly finished. 8. The last time I saw Zhou Rang was at a nightclub owned by my grandfather. My aunt was just promising to gift me the club for my birthday when commotion erupted in the opposite room. A disheveled woman burst out, followed by a man clutching his hand. Zhou Rang, have you no shame? That old man could be my father. Jiang Xia rushed out brandishing a fruit knife, her makeup smeared, collapsing to the ground in tears of utter despair. Meanwhile, Zhou Rang stood drenched in sweat, pressing his bleeding wrist as crimson trickled down. It seems I'll never be able to play the piano again. I signaled the manager to clear the room and learned the reason behind it. Jiang Xia served a year in prison for what happened back then. After her release, Zhou Rang found her and introduced her to a big shot he used to know. Who would have thought that tycoon was nearly 60? Jiang Xia couldn't stomach it and ended up stabbing Zhou Rang with a fruit knife from the table in a fit of rage. Hearing this, I took a step back. Xiao Wang, we need to call the police. Our establishment is a legitimate wellness center. This client's indecent behavior is unacceptable and tarnishes our reputation. Only then did Zhou Rang realize I was the owner. When I remained silent, he nervously pursed his lips, face flushed with humiliation, eyes brimming with both defiance and wounded pride. Without me, Xie Dongga, it's all your fault. You did this to me. Why don't you just die? You should have died like you did in your past life. I gripped his chin and with a slight twist, Zhou Rang's jaw dislocated with a sickening pop, leaning close to his ear. I sneered. Xie Dongga was never some saint, an eye for an eye, that's my creed. Did you really think stealing a few songs could make you famous? Without capital pulling strings behind the scenes, without my permission, you wouldn't even have gotten your face on camera. I built you up just to tear you down. That barely begins to repay what you owe me. Fool, you've been dancing to my tune from the start, first glory, then ruin. Zhou Rang could only glare and roar in impotent rage. I wiped my hands in disgust and ordered them thrown out. Zhou Rang was right about one thing, his rebirth was heaven's mercy on his wretched existence. Had Zhou Rang faced this punishment without his past life memories, he'd still be playing the innocent victim. Perfect. Now he'll carry the weight of 2 lifetimes, drowning in eternal remorse. By the way, his plagiarism case was soon adjudicated with a heavy sentence, enough to keep him fed for life. I successfully joined the Prosperity Dance Company, becoming principal dancer within 2 years and gracing world stages. The world feels so much brighter without scumbags. Arm in arm with my family, we've wandered every corner under the sun. Story 2. After my husband's white moonlight got married, he jumped off a building. Before jumping, he made a will, leaving all his money to the unborn child in his white moonlight's womb. That disgusting illegitimate child, even I, the legitimate wife, missed out on all the company's shares, became a worker toiling for the unattainable love, reborn into this life. Looking at the man before me, a trace of disgust flashed in my eyes, like playing the devoted man. Then you can go die together with your white moonlight. 1. When I received the news that I was about to become a wage slave, I was so shocked I nearly fainted in the cafe. My husband's white moonlight, my arch-rival Jiang Yu, sat across from me with a pregnant belly, smiling innocently. Sister, blame it on our brother for loving me and the child too much. That's why he left the inheritance to me. After all, what father would want his own son to suffer? Isn't that right? Staring at the arrogant woman before me, I clenched my fists tightly, the sharp nails dug into my flesh, the pain excruciating. My husband committed suicide by jumping off a building some time ago, just when I thought I was about to inherit all his property and reach the peak of my life. A lawyer showed up at my house with my husband's will, followed by his unattainable love. In the will, all of my husband's shares were unconditionally given to the child in Jiang Yu's womb, his illegitimate child. As for me, I've gone from being the boss's wife to just another employee. How ironic that after all these years of hard work, I end up working for the mistress and her illegitimate child. Watching Jiang Yu continue to show off in front of me, the light in my eyes gradually dimmed. Then with a smile, I reached into my bag under the table and pulled out my butterfly knife for self-defense, stabbed straight into the left eye of the woman opposite. Blood gushed out, accompanied by screams from the surrounding people. I stepped onto the table and slashed Jianyu's throat with another knife, still thinking of using the family fortune I'd worked so hard to build all these years to raise your illegitimate child, in your dreams. Go to hell with that bastard man of yours. When I opened my eyes again, I thought I was in prison, but the pink curtains told me otherwise. My mother pushed the door open and stood by my bed with a calm expression. Yu Qing, let me ask you one more time, are you really going to marry that penniless Gu Qinghuai? That question jolted me fully awake. I had been reborn, in my past life. I nodded without hesitation, just because he was my first love in high school. I married into the Gu family with a maiden's longing and an exorbitant dowry. In this life, I threw myself onto the bed, kneeling and wailing, no no no, I won't marry, I refuse to wed a penniless man. As soon as the words fell, I saw my mother heave a sigh of relief, then she patted my shoulder and said with a smile, that's my daughter, seeing you so bewitched recently, I thought you were possessed by a ghost. After saying this, my mother's expression immediately turned serious. The Gu family is waiting in the living room right now. Since you don't want to marry Gu Qinghuai, I'll go make it clear. After saying that, she was about to get up and leave, but I grabbed her arm. A cold sneer flashed through my eyes. In my past life, Gu Qinghuai's betrayal was etched deeply in my memory. Having been reborn, how could I let him off so easily? A smile spread across my face. Mom, this trouble was caused by me. I'll handle it myself. I'll talk to Uncle Gu about it, too. In my past life, I was determined to marry Gu Qinghuai. The Gu family had fallen into decline in the capital, and upon hearing this, they acted as if they had stumbled upon a great bargain, immediately bringing Gu Qinghuai to propose marriage. At that time, Jiangyu was still the adopted daughter of the Gu family and stubbornly followed them here. Gu Qinghuai, in front of his beloved, reluctantly accepted me. Thinking back now, he must have hated me to death. I picked a black cheongsam from the wardrobe. Embroidered with several dark golden lotus flowers in gold thread, it exuded an air of dignified elegance. As my mother watched me in the mirror putting on earrings and fixing my hair, instantly transforming from a college girl to a wealthy heiress, she nodded in satisfaction. My mother and I came to the living room. From afar, I could see Gu's father rubbing his hands together, speaking to my father with a fawning expression, but my father sat stiffly on the chair with a stern face. Seeing me arrive, both Gu Qinghuai and Jiangyu were somewhat stunned. The Gu family had fallen into decline, with the entire household crammed into a mere dozen square meter flat in the capital. For over a decade, Mr. Gu clung to his delusion of making a comeback, squandering what little remained of their savings. Thus, both Gu Qinghuai and Jiangyu now dressed simply. Completely unlike me. I glanced at Jiangyu's face, not missing the unmistakable envy in her eyes. Seeing me arrive, Father Gu immediately greeted warmly, Youqing's here, come sit down quickly. Look at Youqing's noble demeanor, it's clear she and Qinghuai are a match made in heaven. I smiled and touched the imperial green oval cabochon ring on my middle finger, glancing at Gu Qinghuai across from me, his blue shirt faded from washing. I remained non-committal. Just as Father Gu was about to probe my father about my dowry, I raised my hand to interrupt him. Uncle, I haven't agreed to marry Gu Qinghuai yet. Don't be so quick to calculate my dowry. The duck hasn't even reached your mouth, and you're already planning to suck the marrow from its bones. As soon as I finished speaking, I saw the Gu family's expressions darken in unison. Gu Qinghuai's voice turned stern. Lin Yuqing, how dare you speak to my father like that? Apologize now. I glanced at him disdainfully and sneered. What kind of thing are you, daring to order me around? I'm the eldest daughter of the wealthy Lin family, your education sponsor. Even if I didn't give you life, I raised you, and now you're demanding an apology from me. I've never seen a shameless man like you who acts tough while living off others. Such audacity. After speaking, I noticed my father sitting beside me immediately brighten up, his gaze towards me filling with appreciation. I couldn't help but laugh. My father was upright and taciturn, so now that I'd voiced his inner thoughts, he naturally felt relieved. The Gu family was momentarily stunned to see their formerly obedient me acting so shrewish. Seizing the advantage, I pointed at Gu Qinghuai's nose and scolded, if I hadn't funded you back then, you'd have dropped out and be selling pancakes on the street by now. Where would you get the money to start a business? It's an honor that I took a liking to you. And you dare speak to me like this? After saying that, I gave a meaningful glance at Jiangyu standing beside Gu Qinghuai, implying, or is it that your heart belongs to someone else, and I'm playing the villain who separates lovers? Jiangyu's lips instantly turned pale upon hearing my words. Some time ago, Father Gu was even willing to marry her off to a wealthy merchant in his 50s for bride price. Just to secure a new loan and make a comeback, it was Gu Qinghuai who stepped forward, claiming he could marry the eldest daughter of the Lin family, which finally made Father Gu spare Jianyu. I'll never forget how Jianyu touched her pregnant belly in our past life and smiled at me, saying, "Do you know what my brother told me back then? On the night of your wedding, my brother held me and told me to endure a little longer, that once he becomes powerful enough, we can be together openly." When Gu Qinghuai heard what I said, he immediately reacted as if struck by a guilty conscience, saying sharply, "Lin Yuqing, don't go too far. Jianyu and I are just siblings." As the words fell, a faint smile curled at the corners of my lips. This was a confession without prompting. Having navigated the business world for years, my father had long honed a pair of piercing, discerning eyes. His gaze swept over Gu Qinghuai and Jianyu, and in an instant, he grasped the gist of the matter, followed swiftly by a surge of anger. Father sneered as he turned his gaze toward Gu's father. "The ancients always said to govern the state, one must first regulate the family. Old Gu, if you can't even keep your own household in order, no wonder your business ventures fail." After speaking, the father coldly signaled to the servant behind him, "With a family like this, you still dare dream of marrying my daughter? Preposterous. Attendants, escort this guest out." 3. Just like that, the entire Gu family was thrown out by us. Gu Qinghuai looked particularly disheveled, standing awkwardly outside the Lin family's villa, raising his head to glare at me watching the spectacle from the balcony. Without hesitation, I flipped him the bird. Shortly after, the property security guards dragged Gu Qinghuai away. In my past life, everyone around me doubted the marriage arrangement between me and Gu Qinghuai, saying we were doomed to fail. Only one person consistently tried to bring me and Gu Qinghuai together from start to finish. That was one of my friends, Song Yu, the illegitimate daughter of the Song family. But when Jianyu came to seize my assets, Song Yu vanished into thin air like steam. Later, I discovered she had taken a large sum of money and emigrated abroad. Looking back now, I suspect the Gu family had bribed people around me to ensure I married into the Gu family safely. They truly went to great lengths. The night I rejected Gu Qinghuai, Song Yu texted me asking why I broke up with him. Her tone wasn't pleasant, and there was even a hint of accusation between the lines. "Gu Qinghuai is handsome and driven. He's already a great match. Yuri not getting any younger this year, and it's already good that someone wants you. How dare you still be picky?" After saying that, she sent several contemptuous emojis in a row, then added, "If you reject Gu Qinghuai, let's just cut ties." I stared at my phone screen in slight surprise, a flicker of doubt crossing my mind. My past self must have been incredibly patient not to slap this illegitimate daughter who dared speak to me like that. Then I immediately understood. Previously, I was a spoiled young lady with no temper, doted on by my parents and untouched by hardships. It wasn't until after marriage when I was forced to start a business with Gu Qinghuai that I toughened up and became the fiery President Lin. Naturally, my state of mind is different now, watching Song Yu still spouting nonsense on the screen. I moved my fingers, blocked her decisively without hesitation, thought the matter would come to an end. Who would have thought that blind-eyed Song Yu would, at Saturday's cocktail party, publicly confront me about why I blocked her? At that moment, I was holding a wine glass and speaking with their family's eldest daughter. The Song family's eldest daughter frowned upon hearing Song Yu speak. The Song family is currently eager to collaborate with the Lin family. Even she herself has to force a smile when speaking to me. What on earth is this illegitimate child doing now? The crowd of onlookers grew larger as the Song family's eldest daughter scolded. "What place do you have to speak in such a setting? Moreover, if someone blocked you, there must be a reason. Have you ever reflected on your own behavior?" Before the illegitimate daughter could retort, I cut in. "Speaking of which, I'd like to ask Miss Song, your family's upbringing can't be that poor. So how did you raise such an outrageous girl?" She actually expected me, a young lady from a prominent family, to marry someone like Gu Qinghuai, a down-and-out nobody. Even my marriage arrangements are subject to my parents' approval. Since when did Miss Song become so meddlesome? When she saw me arguing with Gu Qinghuai, she even threatened to cut ties with me unless we reconciled. As I finished, the crowd erupted in mocking laughter, all ridiculing the illegitimate daughter for overestimating her importance. The Song family's eldest daughter flushed red and then paled with anger. Then she shot a glance at her assistant behind her. The assistant stepped forward and slapped Song Yu twice across the face. The eldest Miss Song smiled apologetically at me, saying, It's entirely due to the Song family's lax discipline that this farce occurred. Rest assured, Miss Lin, we'll take her back and give her a proper talking to." I looked at the disheveled Song Yu before me, her cheeks swollen high, recalling her glorious and untouchable demeanor in her previous life. I nodded in satisfaction. Song Yu was dragged by the servants and thrown into the car, to be sent back to the Song family after the banquet concluded. Meanwhile, I proceeded to discuss business with the eldest Miss Song. Although the current head of the Song family hasn't achieved any major accomplishments, they've done quite well in maintaining the family's legacy. There's still someone worth befriending. The next morning, my father and mother sat on the sofa with serious expressions. Seeing me come downstairs, my father cleared his throat and said, "Yuzuki, starting today, you'll come to work at the company with me. Your mother and I have been overprotective of you before. Any stranger could easily deceive and take you away. Now we should start training you like we would an heir." I had been longing for this opportunity, so I agreed immediately after father finished speaking. Without further questions, father instructed the driver to prepare another car. The Lin family is different from other wealthy families. Mother didn't choose the diplomatic wife route, instead joining the company alongside father after my birth, sharing equal equity, with both spouses working hard together. The Lin family flourished accordingly, becoming one of Beijing's rare families that consistently climbed the social ladder without decline. Even if I had foolishly married Gu Qinghuai in my past life, my parents were no fools, according to my recollection. Gu Qinghuai's true coldness toward me likely began when he heard me say, my parents had already made plans for me. I am the sole heir of the Lin family trust. If I die, almost all the assets will be transferred to a designated foundation to protect endangered wildlife on Changbai Mountain from poaching. Upon joining the company, my father appointed me as the chairman's assistant. After shadowing my father nonstop for a week, I quickly familiarized myself with the company's basic structure. Since it's a joint leadership by the couple, there's no factional struggle within the company. Everyone performs their own duties, and the salary package is commensurate with employees' efforts. With the experience of starting a business alone in my previous life, I basically grasped company matters instantly. Seeing my natural talent, my father immediately abandoned his initial thought of keeping me by his side. On Friday afternoon, as soon as the appointment order naming me as Deputy General Manager was issued, I immediately assumed my new position. While everything was peaceful on my side, Gu Qinghuai's situation was filled with gloom and despair. Without me, their financial benefactor, Gu's father was desperate to make a comeback. He immediately sent Jiang Yu out as a cash cow. At every high society banquet the Gu family could attend, Jiang Yu would be brought by Mr. Gu to toast each business magnate present. This explosive exclusive gossip came from my dear cousin, a fine young lady who utterly detested Jiang Yu. Back when Jiang Yu was trying to elevate her social status in their circle, she secretly smeared my cousin, her peer, countless times. Though my cousin retaliated in kind, the two became sworn enemies from then on. To get a close-up view of Jiang Yu's awkward situation, my cousin specially gave me an invitation to the weekend banquet. She wanted me to join her in watching the spectacle. Just thinking about Jiang Yu's arrogant demeanor in my past life fills me with malice. I'm no White Lotus protagonist, I'm just a petty person who loves to kick others when they're down, most skilled at reveling in my enemy's misfortunes. So that evening I made a grand entrance, dressed in the latest haute couture from the runway that made me look like the epitome of wealth and beauty, not to mention the priceless jewelry adorning me and the refined demeanor cultivated from being raised in an aristocratic family. The moment I stepped onto the red carpet, all the other minor celebrities instantly paled in comparison. The reporters' cameras all turned toward me. The host immediately put on an ingratiating smile when they saw me arrive, handing me a signing pen with both hands for an autograph. I overheard a junior reporter in the corner whispering to their colleague, "Who is that? Such grand presence." When she arrived, even the newly crowned Best Actress made way for her to take photos first. Their colleague quickly hushed. "You don't know? That's a genuine Beijing socialite, a true heiress." 60% of the celebrities at this gala are employees of her family's company. The questioning reporter gasped, then quickly shut their mouth before my gaze swept over them. That reporter wasn't wrong. Many actors and celebrities in the entertainment industry are indeed our family's employees. However, the Lin family's business empire extends far beyond just the entertainment industry. Finance, internet, computing, catering, culture. The Lin family has ventures in all these fields. Serving as my male escort was the renowned director who watched me grow up. He chatted with me as we walked into the inner venue together. Many familiar celebrities immediately swarmed around, engaging in conversation with the director. I, on the other hand, found my cousin, grabbed some food from the buffet area in the venue, and sat in a corner to eat. The people at the banquet all had different purposes. Business tycoons holding capital either chatted casually or exchanged the latest market trends and future industry policies amidst laughter and smiles. The celebrities' intentions are quite blatant. An accomplished veteran actor stands beside a familiar director, discussing the upcoming filming work. With just a few words, they secured a role that could make an unknown actor famous overnight. Yet more are those obscure but good-looking minor celebrities, constantly searching for targets on the scene. The entertainment industry is never short of beauties. At this time in my previous life, I got engaged and married to Gu Qinghuai. Gu Qinghuai said it was because our family had no power or influence. His younger sister Jianyu suffered constant bullying in the dance troupe. Jianyu now wants to switch careers and enter the entertainment industry, asking for my help. For this reason, I went to great lengths at the time to stop Jianyu from going to accompany wealthy sponsors for drinks. I forcefully got her, who wasn't skilled enough, into a dance variety show. Later, I'd also spent money on data manipulation and marketing for her. She was forcibly elevated to a height that didn't belong to her, despite being worlds apart from top dancers in terms of innate talent. In this lifetime, I simply smiled faintly. In this life, I didn't help her pull strings. She didn't even qualify for the preliminary auditions. Maybe I can only tag along to the cocktail party by mooching a ticket to accompany older men. As midnight approached, most of the overt business discussions had concluded. A small group of executives, directors, and celebrities left first, while the rest tacitly headed to the top floor, exchanging glances with my cousin. We also stood up and waited by the elevator to go to the top floor. After all, we came here tonight specifically to see the excitement. How could we possibly miss the most thrilling part of the show? My cousin is delicately beautiful, with every smile and frown exuding the charming innocence of a young girl. As for me, I am striking and glamorous, with every gesture radiating an aura of decisive authority. Coupled with our exquisitely expensive evening gowns, we stood out from the crowd even more. The young nobleman beside me gulped and whispered to his companion. Which noble family do these two beauties belong to? Their master must be quite the lucky man. Before he could finish, his companion immediately panicked and tried to hush him, but it was too late. The female bodyguard behind me strode forward and slapped the young nobleman twice across the face. Blood immediately gushed from his nose and mouth as he collapsed onto the ground. The minor celebrity in his arms let out a shriek and stumbled away in fright. I looked down at the disheveled nobleman with the same disdain one would show to trash. The banquet manager heard the commotion and hurried over, bowing and scraping to apologize to me. Then he escorted my cousin and me to the VIP elevator. My cousin snorted coldly. If it weren't for watching Jianyu make a fool of herself, I'd never come to such a disgusting place. I glanced at her with a smile and comforted her. Just think about how we'll soon see Jianyu humiliated. Doesn't that make it better? As I finished speaking, the elevator reached the top floor where a bowing attendant stood at the door. I casually picked up a glass of red wine and walked toward the venue. Compared to the cocktail party downstairs, the people at the upstairs party were more like beasts unleashing their primal instincts, greed, profit above all, and clear class divisions. The wealthy bosses were the center of attention, while their companions fawned over them, carefully currying favor with their benefactors. Among a crowd of good-looking celebrities, I also spotted the person we came to see tonight, Jianyu. Unlike the image we imagined of her being unyielding even unto death, vowing to remain chaste for Gu Qinghuai, here, she was dressed lightly, leaning against a man in his 40s with coquettish laughter. The two were whispering, and occasionally I could hear Jianyu's deliberate coyness and laughter. I curled my lips. It seems exactly as I imagined. Jianyu was never an easy person to deal with. Poor Gu Qinghuai, such a lovesick fool. Even his posthumous inheritance went to that wretched woman, who knew she only saw him as a gullible fool and a backup option. Photography and recording were prohibited at the party. My cousin and I sat in a corner, listening with great interest to Jianyu's conversation with that wealthy businessman. At this party, Jianyu was just a minor internet celebrity. Her looks couldn't compare to those stunning celebrities, but as a dance major, her figure was truly 1 in 100. Seeing the wealthy businessman's gaze drawn by a passing celebrity, Jianyu immediately cooed, "Uncle, you're not allowed to look." Could her figure possibly compare to mine? As she spoke, Her cousin sitting behind them made an exaggerated gagging expression. My eyes were filled with sarcasm. After all, Jianyu has built her online persona as the clear-headed female lead. In her videos, she advocates that women should earn their living through their own abilities. Any method relying on beauty and figure isn't sustainable. Girls should have self-respect and self-love. Watching Jianyu being manhandled before my eyes, I let out a cold laugh. Seems like you can't fully trust what internet celebrities say after all. After all, whether influencers are angels or demons behind the camera remains unknown. The party didn't end until late at night. The wealthy merchant dusted himself off and prepared to move to the hotel with Jianyu. The corners of my mouth curled slightly as I sent a message on my phone before leisurely getting up to leave with my cousin. In his past life, Gu Qinghuai was deeply infatuated with Jianyu. How could I just stand by and watch Jianyu